Hail to thee, my kindred. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and night, wherever and whenever you are. Yours truly is feeling rather hot. Like, not like in the other sense, and like the literal sense. It is warm too much in my room, weirdly, because it is like 20 something outside, I'm pretty sure. And for whatever reason, my hoodie is a little too good at keeping me warm. I mean, that's what I like it. Hi, YouTube. You might see YouTube say hi back. I don't think they will. They scarcely do say anything at all, actually. But that was kind of you, Subvol, to say hi. Yay! Yeah. I was trying to find a tier list on what you suggested, like that one time a couple of... Actually, I don't remember how long ago it was that you suggested a tier list on like fiction tropes or some shit like that, and I couldn't find a good one. So I'm scrambling here. This is what happens when I only wake up like an hour prior. Last month, damn, I had like 30 minutes to search this up. I was like, damn, I gotta actually like have a topic for a stream or something. And then I start looking for it. Okay, realistically, it wasn't even 30 minutes. It was 10 minutes ago. I was like, this has got to be easy, you know? It's got to be like the top result. It was not the top result. The top result had like very simple tropes, and I was like, damn, that's not a good one. That's not good content. It needs to be out of pocket shit, you know? It needs to be something wild. It needs to be something that would make me consider changing the what do you call it, the thing on stream. The content classification, that's the thing. But I couldn't find any. Could not find a single thing outside of just the norm, and that was disappointing. I'm still gonna search for it, and we'll see if we find it. You might have one. Let you check. All right, just post it. The link right in the chat. Or I guess you could do so in the Discord as well. But chat is more direct, since you can just straight up post a link in there. That, and I may also need to use the restroom. Let's see this one. Let's see. Okay, I looked at this one. All right. We can work with this. We can work with this one. And then we'll... Doesn't have a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wait, that's not 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 30 something, 40 something, I think. 30 or 40, 44? Yeah, 44. There we go. At some point, you just gotta stop saying the numbers so that your brain can keep up. You ever have that issue where your mouth is slow, but your brain is fast, and therefore you can't keep up with yourself and you just mess yourself up? That's why I just stop wording things correctly sometimes. It's because my brain is like 3 words ahead, 3 numbers ahead, and my mouth is just barely keeping up. But we can work with this. And this is what I shall use. So let me put that off to the side there. Still gonna look for a few things. Let's see. There isn't really a lot of tier list type of websites. I tried to look it up on the tier maker one, but that one's just not functioning for whatever reason. It is being a rascal and not a good one. It's like when you see those monkeys just... You go to a place that has a lot of monkeys, and then they just fuck up your shit for no reason. Finesse your bag. Destroy anything that's made out of glass, like a table. Ooh, this one is a lot longer. We might use this one. Holy shit. Okay. I'm gonna keep this one right there. Does it have some of the same... It does. Let me see if it has... Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. You know what? This one's good. This one's good. I found one that's pretty good. You gotta focus up for lab. Shout loud when you find it. I did. I did find it, but you focus on that lab. Focus on that lab. And I probably won't get to it right now. I do want to just chit chat for a little bit, and then we'll get to it. If that's okay with a lot of you. That, and it gives me some time to just do other things if I need to do them. As in, skedaddle to the bathroom if my body decides it needs to go to the bathroom. Because it's like kind of not even making a decision just yet. And man, you ever... You know what's one thing I kind of never understand is how hungry you get when you wake up after like barely sleeping, right? So I slept, right? I say barely, but what I mean by barely is just like the kind of sleep that you know you've slept because time has passed when you like open your eyes and check your time, whatever time it may be, whether you have a watch or your phone or whatever, right? But it doesn't feel like you slept. Every time I have that kind of sleep, I always feel so fucking famished. I feel like some child in 1944's Russia, just starving. Just, I will eat anything that is handed to me in the spot and not have any qualms about it. It's it's just like terrible. And I don't know why. Because like I ate not even that long prior to being asleep to ensure that I do not feel that way. But for whatever reason, my brain is just like, damn, you're starving. And I just gotta wake up, go to the kitchen immediately, start putting things, preparing stuff so that it cooks while I wash my teeth. Or brush my teeth, since that's the correct way to say it. And mind you, at the very least, there was already food that's cooked and all that I had to do was heat it up. But that was still a little bit of a struggle. Especially when your brain is like on the verge of giving you that like queasy, how do you say, dizziness or whatever? Where it's like you feel like your stomach's fighting against you for the life of itself, but at the same time it's like, damn, you're gonna like not be awake. And it's like, what do you mean? Of course we're gonna be awake, and you're always fine, because you're not actually starving. If you were actually starving, that'd be a different thing. But that sensation of like your stomach is squeezing and just being like, please, good sir, feed me. And you're just like, well, maybe I would feed you if you weren't giving me like the pain and weakness of the body that is unrequired for me to get food. Such a little paradox. I don't understand why the body does that. I suppose it does it to like freak you out, and just be like, ooh, look what's happening. If you don't get food, this is how it's gonna be forever. And that's unpleasant for obvious reasons, right? It is a strange evolutionary tactic that I do not agree with. Silly body. It reminds me of those rats that were in that one experiment regarding the, how did they go about it? They put them in water, and then the rats just swam until at some point they gave up. But when they were giving up, the people took them out, and then they put them back in after a while. And this time around, the rats just swam for longer because they knew that, like, they were going to get picked up at some point. Which is a sad experiment, but also an interesting one that suggests certain ideas about just, there's just a strangeness of evolution. Like, why didn't the rats swim forever the first time? Does that mean that, evolutionarily speaking, your brain will sometimes just be like, yeah, it's game over, and just give you mercy by allowing you to give up? which is an interesting concept, I guess, because that means that you can perceive, like, suffering in a certain way instinctually, not just pain, which I find a little interesting, but a little bit weird to justify. I heard that a while ago. It's like, oh well, if evolution didn't, have some way to understand what suffering is, or that it may be prolonged unnecessarily, then you wouldn't have these kinds of situations. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, we're talking about lacking information in an animal who does not really have any idea how it got into the place that it is in the first place. Like, the rat doesn't know that it got put there by the same people that took him out of the water, probably. I assume. I mean, maybe it does. We can't really ask the rats, especially since they're probably now dead. But I mean, like, outside of being dead, outside of being dead, you could not ask the rat, hey, do you understand that we put you here? It would be kind of fucked up if we could, because that would mean that the rats are, intelligent and sentient and capable of, expressing themselves, which I think they would express themselves quite furiously if they could, have that capacity. Hey, do you think where did the whole stereotype about rats really liking, or is it mice? Mice or rats, one of the two. Where did the whole idea of them liking cheese come from? Like, is that just one of those things that was made up by just cartoonists and whatnot? They just, like, made a cartoon about a rat or a mouse really wanting cheese, and just society just sort of picked that up and was just like, yes, this is the truth. This is gospel. Like, I need to know, actually. I'm gonna look that up. Do mice like shez? I don't even know how to speak. how to rate cheese. There we go. Not speak. Cheese. I need to know the answer. That's not. Why did I spell cheese with a D? That's not how cheese works. Mice do not particularly like cheese. They will eat it if there are no better food options available. In fact, they tend to prefer sweeter foods like fruits and grains. Okay, so they straight up don't like cheese. So my whole life and the life of many others has been a lie. Mice do not, in fact, like cheese. This is actually unexpected. So who made that shit up? Who just came up with that? I need answers. They need to be sentenced and probably executed to some capacity. I say as if execution wasn't just death. But oh well. Oh freaking well. Did I have anything else to say? That's my British accent for you. Or the closest thing to it. Well, yeah, they are pretty lactose intolerant, like basically every other animal. I kind of forget that. Humans are, built different. Oh, no. But that still, once again, propagates the idea. Like, who propagated the propaganda? And lactose intolerance is something I just straight up forget that animals are for the most part. Also, you found your second most useful video again? Second most useful video for something I imagine useful. Congratulations. I am happy for you and your findings. It always feels good to find like a specific video that you've been searching for quite the extended amount of period. Always a nice feeling. Your brain is like, whew, there you go. Chemicals to the brain. It's a video to be sent to an unwanted suitors and you had lost it. Oh. I see, I see. Gotta get that message just straight to him. Brain, please. God, I was gonna say something. Yeah. Never mind that. Hmm. Hmm. Fluffy. Fluffy dog. Something about fluffy dogs. I don't know what else. There was something in there, and it evaporated. Why did this happen? I'm gonna have to search for that little piece of trivia or something, just like you searched for that video. uh, uh, I've yet to make my list of songs that I needed to practice for that karaoke in March. I got a couple of songs in my head that I'm like, yeah, I could sing these with some monicum of confidence, it'll be fun. And then it's like only 3 though. And I need enough for like 2 hours or something. I need enough to do a song and then wait 5 minutes and then do another song and then wait another 5 minutes. So I gotta get on that. I gotta get on that. Why is my thing kind of dying? It is no longer dying. Bandwidth had like a moment. It was like slipping, just like me when I slip and slide right into nowhere. That reminds me of how angry I get when I am in the kitchen and any amount of clumsiness happens on my part. I get so furious. I get like unrelentingly furious. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, you fucking idiot? I really dislike it when I'm like trying to perform what I consider a basic task and it's just not going right for whatever reason. Because usually once I start like spilling one thing, it just goes downhill from there. It's just like it's a telltale sign that the rest of my time in that kitchen is just gonna be me fucking things up in like some capacity. And that's always, I think that's why I always get so mad, because it's like there's nothing I can do about it. Once it happens, it's gonna keep happening until I like accomplish whatever task. Oh boy, a bit of a worrisome thing, but hey, it is what it is, as the children say. I don't even know if the kids say that anymore. They probably say something new. They probably say something like, that's just how Ohio something regarding Ohio. I wouldn't know. I do not interact with children. My neck. Damn. There was a game I was gonna check out a few days ago. I think it was the one about the Eldritch women, the like Eldritch gods, but they're like furry women or something. It's like a visual novel. I don't remember. Sucker for Love, I think it's called. Yeah, Sucker for Love. Because I seen somebody else play it and I was like, oh yeah, that's a game that existed. I only had like scarce memories of like a thumbnail, and I think Markiplier had played like the first part or something. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I never looked for it. Never did. You know what I should also do? I should just look for quote unquote older yet kind of infamous visual novels. I think that'll be a bit of a, how do you say, not a trip, but something that people will be like, oh my god, somebody's playing this after X amount of years. Like fucking something that'll make me cringe to some extent. Necopara, I guess, would be one of those. Necopara. I don't know what else. There's probably some other things out there. Although if I do get Necopara, I'd have to be careful to not get the other version of it, the part with the with the intimate scenes in it. Because those, if I just gotta make sure that if I ever get one of these visual novels, that I don't accidentally get the one with porn in it. Because too many of them just do have that, just a little bit too much. And I'm sure you could play them on Twitch. I'm like 90% sure that's a thing you can do. 90% sure. I kind of dislike how how loud my mouse is. Like, you can hear that shit just moving around. Sometimes a wire just slightly tapping against the table. Need to get myself a mouse mat, or at least something that's slightly, ever so slightly, just capable of muffling the noise. That's what this young chap needs. Let me drink my tea before I forget about it, because I have just not drinking from it in the last 20 minutes. I have no drama to speak of this time around, because I've not seen anything as of late. At least not anything with notable people, I guess, involved. I remember Scratch telling me a thing or two in his stream when I went over there. He streamed yesterday, and I watched his stream for a good while. A good hour and a half, or 2 hours maybe. Well, the kind of drama he knows about is just your YouTuber side of things, while I mainly stick to, VTubers. VTubers. Yeah, I was thinking about all the folks that originally got me into VTubers. Huh. I mean, they're still around for the most part. They're still around. Most of them have just become different people because they were part of smaller corporations that just this last year just couldn't exist for whatever reason, just decided to dissolve. And some of them have kept the same faces because some of those, corpos have allowed them to buy their IP, for lack of a better word. That's literally just the way to put it. And my bandwidth is acting up. Why is that? It's like going down for a couple of seconds and just kicking back up. There is an artist that I do watch every now and again whenever she pops up on my thing. She's like a mole VTuber. She's got like her design is very cute because she's like this like little lady who's like all like covered up in like she's got her like beanie hat, her little sweater, her scarf. It's very cute, and I like just the design of her. Overall, just the design of her art is very nice. You know how last time I described one artist's art, like the texture as like very good. It's the same thing for her. Like the way her art looks, just very like it would taste good if it was food. Which is a weird descriptor, but that is the way I decided to. That's the only way I can convey these emotions about how I feel of people's art. Would it taste good if it was food? Would the texture be good? This one would be more so the flavor. In her case, I guess, the flavor of her art would be good. And honestly, I kind of look back, right? I was talking about was talking about VTubers I used to watch for the most part that I kind of don't watch anymore. And my reason for watching them, ain't the best, right? Guys, lonely. That's the reason. Simple as. But I do, you know, appreciate that I did come across them because, hey, if I didn't, then I wouldn't, you know, be doing this. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be looking at so many cool people doing so many cool things, whether it's in a larger scale or a smaller scale. Because there is a lot of people that are very interesting in this space. There's also a lot of people that just all do the same thing. But that is the nature of this. And I cannot even take myself out of that little group of people who all kind of do the same thing. Because I kind of do the same thing that everybody else does to some extent. I'm just late in doing it. So that might that might to some extent either help me or not help me, right? Because it either allows me to, it allows me to experience things for the first time, right? Like games and whatnot that people have already played years and years ago. But at the same time, it's like, well, people already played it, so why would anyone watch me, right? Why would people watch me play it? I did see a couple of games that are like free and are like games you could play with others. So I'm gonna bring those up. Actually, I forgot to bring those up to Scratch and Marseille. Maybe those two, would be interested. We could all get together someday. Just play a couple of random games that are just free and multiplayer. In which case, I would have to figure out how to allow the Discord call to be heard by the goddamn, OBS. I don't know if just leaving it on desktop is fine, because I know the volume of people's voices on Discord might be maybe too low or too high, and then you gotta adjust all that, and I just don't know how to do any of that. Anyhow, I need to use the restroom real quick. I will return in a bit. I return here. And I forget that music needs to exist because I always not have it here because this is the window screen area where you get to see the stuff. Media source. Add existing. Music. Yes. There we go. The silence shall no longer be deafening. And I need to show the window. We'll get to that freaking little tier list now so that we can exist with entertaining ideas. And you can see just what the hell I think about each and every little trope that I see there. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Hold on, let me see. I have to like go check. Oh, that's because there's two of them. Let me just take a look over it one more time. Wham, 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 wham. And there's nothing too crazy there, I think. I say. It should be fine. It should be fine. There are definitely some that are a little out of pocket, but that is what adds to the fun. If it didn't add to the fun, then what's the point? Alright. Now let me make sure my settings are all good, that all is good on Twitch, so that I can see if Twitch is just dying or not. Tis fine. Okay. Boom. Tier list. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm gonna assume it is viewable because this is, you know, how I have my screen a lot of times. And as you can see, big list. It's got like too many things, but that gives us all the more fun to play around with. And some of these, I don't even know what they mean. Some of these I'm like, 5 plus 1, I mean, I can assume what that means, but I kind of don't want to assume. I want to know. Make it bigger? How the hell am I supposed to make it bigger, sub? How? How do you expect me to do that? I assume you mean the screen. I now thought about it. I thought you meant the list. I was like, the list? I can't make the list bigger if I didn't make the list. But you were not talking about the list. You were talking about the screen, I think. Right? Or am I wrong? Am I making assumptions again? I have no clue. 5 plus 1 is a trope where something happens 5 times and then the opposite of that. Oh yeah! Fuck, you're right. You're right. As you can see, I've never read those. Oh, you're right. It's like 5 times this character did this, and then the one time they didn't or something. Or the other character does it. That's how I've seen it anyways. These are our categories. Love, like, okay, sure, or hell no. I don't know why okay is above sure. I feel like that should be the opposite. You know, because sure is more of like a, yeah, sure. But whatever. We'll just go A, B, C, D, E, right? No, wait. A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, okay, that's how you... That is the alphabet. Just have to recount that in my mind. Like, X person gets help from Y 5 times, then the one time X helps Y. You can edit them. That's true. I can. We'll just make it simpler, okay? We'll just switch out these two. Because, like, this arrange is like, yeah, I love it. I like it. I'm okay with it. I'm sure with it. I'm hell no with it. Let's go A. Will that save it? Okay, yes it will. B. C. Nope, why did it go to that one? This is D. Okay, D, and then C, and then E. Yay, we've done it. We've done it. Folks, we've saved the world. Alright, 5-1. As described by Subvol. When something happens 5 times and then the opposite of that happens once, like X person gets help from Y 5 times and the one time X helps Y. You know what? I think I've not read, and I don't think I've read any with that trope. I think I've seen that trope and I'm like, it's kind of boring. I think it's kind of like I get the gist, right? I get the gist of it, but it's kind of like, it's all right. It's like a very basic. It can be cute. It can be cute depending on the characters, but sometimes, it's just characters that, for the most part, I feel like are too often kind of paired together. I think. So I'll leave it at C because it's okay. It's an okay idea. I like the idea. I think it's okay. I can see how it can be cute to some people. But to me, it's like, it's whatever. Abuse. Now, this is like kind of taken out of context. Because I'm assuming that it's like abuse of what? Like, who's abusing who? Is it 2 characters abusing each other? Is it 1 character abusing the other? Is the 1 character being abused by a third party? I don't know. I know people like to go wild with some of the darker stuff. Some people be like that. And I'm the last person to place judgments because I'm just a man. So, let's see. I wish they did put a little bit more context to some of these, but I understand why they don't. I'm gonna add an extra thing where it's just what context? Right? We'll leave it this color and then we'll say add row below. Okay. This row did not need to exist. I'm gonna put this in this category because I really just I need more than just a word on this particular trope within a fan fiction. I can imagine how some people would use it, but I don't think, I just don't know where to place that one, right? Accidental incident. Now this one can be interesting because it's often used as like the catalyst to like, if we're considering just like shipping, right, which is a lot of fan fiction, it's just shipping 2 people together, then a lot of it does get done. Not a lot, maybe like a fair amount of it is like, oh, a thing happens that forces these 2 characters to deal with each other. And I think, it's convenient. It's a very easy trope to use, depending on, I guess, what fanfiction you're making. Just, what world are we talking about? Because in some worlds, it's like, oh, you can just something happens almost every week in this world, so you can just be like, boom, this thing happened instead, Or it can be something, it's just like a very convenient trope. It's very useful, but in and of itself, just like as a thing that happens, I'm alright with it. So, just see. Adoptive parent. Have I read anything in which anybody becomes an adoptive parent? You know who's often written as an adoptive parent because they borderline are in the main series? That motherfucker from My Hero Academia. Ayazawa, I think his name is. That motherfucker is always like everybody's dad. And, like, that's in the fan fiction side of things. That motherfucker's just seen as everybody's dad. Everybody's just second dad. Which, Gerald of Rivia. Oh, Gerald. I don't know enough about Gerald. I'm gonna be fair. Isn't he the guy from The Witcher, right? That's the guy from The Witcher? Gerald. I like that guy in terms of, like, how he looks. He's pretty cool. I guess he does take it. Doesn't he take it? No, I don't know if he really takes in. Well, there's that gal, right? There's that other gal. I guess he's also canonically an adoptive father. Oh, yeah, because, like, there's that other chick that's, like, a witcher as well, right? Or Belly's. Like, I know there is, like, a white-haired chick. I don't know, actually. I don't know enough about The Witcher. I need to know more about The Witcher, but yes, he does seem like the type, to be fair. He does seem like the gruff, the gruff kind of older man that, would be considered, even in the canon, kind of like adopting somebody. I think it's okay. It depends on what the story is about. Because if you have this mixed in with something else, with like another tag, then that can be very, very angsty, I guess, to some extent. And listen, I'm gonna be honest, I love my angst, okay? I love my angst. I'm an edgy motherfucker. I love that shit. Like, make me feel emotions, please. I think I'll put it on B. It's not my favorite thing, but I think it's okay. It's pretty alright. It's pretty alright. When done right, when done correctly. Unlike the dynamics of, like, oh, I'm a parent now. What the fuck? Aftercare, that's obviously schmex related. The schmut. the thing people like to fucking write. And I'm gonna be honest, I've read my fair share, but I don't think I've seen any with aftercare in it. I'm gonna be honest. S tier? You say S tier for aftercare? And it seems fine enough to be. We don't have an S tier now that I think about it. We just have A. Let me make one. Add a row above. There we go. We have an S tier now. Problem solved. Is important. True, very true. I personally, like I said, I don't know. Afterlife. I feel like this is like another what context kind of thing. Like, what does this mean? Like, are we talking about like a fantasy, like as a general rule? Yeah, but at the same time, we are talking, fan fictions. Ghosts? True. I guess it could be like ghosts. Like, what I mean by context is like, well, I guess maybe we should preface this with like, well, no, I can't even preface it with that because a lot of these are not related to what I'm thinking about. It depends on what kind of fic it is. If it's like, I think it's like the world. That's what I'm thinking about. It depends on the world that we're talking about. Because there are some things in which they include the afterlife that is like, oh, whatever the fuck is going on in all of the Hades fics, maybe. The Hades fics? What is that supposed to mean? I mean, I guess. Yeah, that is true. That technically takes place in the afterlife. Fuck, I didn't think about that. But as a general concept, where do we place this? Because I feel like most writers don't even need to write about the afterlife, Like, unless you're making a specific thing that involves the supernatural, or it's like a fantasy thing, you're not really writing much on the afterlife. Or including the afterlife. And to me, I feel like that alone knocks it down a couple of pegs. So I'll put that in D, mostly because I'm unsure of where to put that. I guess as a setting, Even as a setting, I feel like that'd be pretty boring. Because I guess, you know what? That would make sense if it was like, I guess technically, and this is gonna sound kind of dumb, but like, Has-Been Hotel technically is all about the afterlife, right? So it's like, even as a setting, I feel like it's meh. It really depends on the writer. It depends on the writer. Age gap. Okay, this one is the one that gets often, I think, thrown around as problematic for various reasons. And like me being me, I personally don't give a fuck about what people enjoy or what they don't enjoy. But from a writing perspective, I feel like doing obviously like age gap. This is like gonna be some smut related stuff, right? It's just obviously gonna be the case. And some people, I mean, sometimes the age gap is like two grown ass people, and sometimes it's not, and that's when it gets a little a little iffy, a little like I wonder why this person wrote this. mm, I personally don't give a damn about it, whether two characters are like closer in age or further in age. It's like the only it puts an interesting dynamic, I guess. Assuming they're writing it, without it being like abject cringe. So, eh, it can be good. It can be good. I think I'll put on B. Give me a grandpa and he'll need a second hip replacement when I'm done with him. Ooh wee. Now aged up. Aged up. I think it's just common sense for some of these things. Aged up, I know, is a tag that has come to like certain is garnered some flack because obviously a lot of fan fiction is smart related, and so sometimes people are like, oh, these characters are teenagers in canon, let's age them up to like be in their 20s or whatever. And people don't like that because they're like, well, they're still essentially the same people, you're just aging them up. And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this one. Aged up. Other times it's not smart related and it's literally just like, well, in the canon, everybody's this age and I want to make them older for story purposes, right? Which is, can be legit. Like a, what do you call it? Not an epilogue, but where would these characters be kind of like X amount of years later type of thing, where, some of the characters might be on the younger side and therefore they're technically aged up as well, right? But I feel like aged up in this context, it can mean like different things depending on the type of fic we're talking about. Me personally, I don't give a damn, so I'll just leave it at C. C is gonna be my like safe option. It's like that I don't care or I think it's okay. Amnesia. Okay, Amnesia, I think fucking doesn't get done well. I think it's boring because mainly one, like, it just doesn't get done good. It doesn't get done good because it just involves peoples and characters already and their personality, and the story is essentially, oh, how can we get this person back to being them? Sometimes there's romance added to that, right? Sag, I will find you some good Amnesia fics. I've seen some romance ones where the Amnesia fic is basically like, oh, this person doesn't like me and because of X reason, right? And sometimes those reasons are very legitimate reasons, and then other times, or sorry, let me continue with that line of thought. They don't like me for X reason, or I don't think I can get with them because of X reason. Then they get amnesia, and the other character sort of like takes that as an opportunity to like start anew and see if they can, kind of get with them now that they may have maybe conveniently forgotten a certain piece of information. Like that motherfucker. I'm gonna use fucking book, like, what's that show called? My Hero Academia as an example, bro. Like that's just because that's like a mainstream thing. I know there's a bunch of fanfics about, like, that motherfucker Bakugo, and which is the blonde guy, and Deku, which is the or Izuku, right? That's his actual name. The green-haired guy, where it's like, back in middle school, Blondie used to bully the hell out of green hair guy. And oh, green hair guy has amnesia. And actually, this entire time, Blondie had a crush on the guy. And now that he's had amnesia, maybe he's feeling a little more confident about approaching him because hey, maybe he forgot about the whole thing back in the day that I used to bully him. Ha ha ha. All right, I'm making it out to be more facetious than it is, or more bad than it is, but to me, it's kind of like It's eh. So I'm gonna put it in like D, just because I myself not really a fan so far. Although, maybe I've just not read the right ones. If they were roommates, I kind of like this, but it depends on the character combinations, right? And often they were roommates and they were roommates. I know that specific phrase is a reference to a Vine. I know, but like I know the concept is like, oh, two characters are roommates in even their own world, but I think often you see them be paired up as roommates in fan fiction, just characters in general. If it's like a college AU or something like that, I personally kind of like it, but it depends on the mix-up of the characters. I like it when it's two characters that are kind of just complete fucking assholes to each other, or just like I don't know, like it's just like funny because it's like, oh, here's two characters that would probably not be a good idea to be left together for, whether it's because they'd be too chaotic or whether it's because they try to kill each other. Like to me, it's just like a good setup for comedy. That, and there can be angst, if it's like a romance thing where it's like, oh, one guy, one roommate likes the other roommate, but like, for whatever reason they can't say shit. Jolly, I want to see your AO3 wrapped. You will never never see that. I didn't even know that was a thing. And to be fair, I don't read as many fanfics as I used to. At least on AO3. Mostly because it's like the type of stuff that I like is hard to find. There's not a lot of it, and I suppose there's gonna be some point where I'm gonna pull a Thanos and just be like, fine, I'll do it myself. It's not, but there is bots you can use. Makes sense. I like if they're roommates. It has a lot of potential, so I'm gonna put it in A because just the potential of that. Angst, you already know. S tier for me. I love it when there's actual stakes, though. The issue with angst is that for a lot of people, they write angst, but there's always the caveat that like most stories that you see with angst have a happy outcome. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of don't like that. I want that to be unknown, personally. I want to know that's part of the angst for me. Like, you don't know whether things are going to turn out okay or whether they're not going to turn out okay. But most people simply and understandably do not have the will to write a bad ending, so they tag it as like, oh, this is, angst with a happy ending. Which, fine. But sometimes that's not what I'm looking for, Like, I want to know. I want to feel like how the characters feel. Uncertain. Kind of scared, anxious a little. So I'm gonna put it in S just because it's one of my favorite tags, even if it doesn't, get the how do you say, the appreciation in terms of how people use it that it deserves, in my opinion. People are cowards. Arranged marriage. Now, arranged marriage often comes with an AU. Sometimes it doesn't, because some worlds, may allow for those rules to exist. Like, I don't know, if one show or whatever that you're making a fanfiction of is taking place in ye olden times, or some setting that is kind of historical in the sense of like, oh, there's knights, like a fantasy thing, right? Then, it can be, I don't know how to feel about it, actually. Have I read, you know what I've seen a lot of arranged marriage fanfictions of? Those, like, what do you call them? Those fanfictions that are written for the ladies. It's like a self-insert thing, which I'm gonna say this, man, respectfully, them things kind of good sometimes. Them things kind of good. I'm like, I look at a couple of them and I'm like, damn, these motherfuckers know how to write. Like, what are they doing? They should be making like actual books at this rate. But arranged marriage, as a character X character thing, that does have angst in it to some extent, but it has the same issue as angst, in which people often will make it so that instead of there being a mystery as to whether things are gonna work out between the two, you already know, like, you already have like a feeling, or they'll just place it in the tag that things turn out like happy ending, right? And I personally, I'm the kind of person that to some extent despises tags, but I like tags, especially in like AO3, because they're very useful to find very specific kinds of like fan fictions. But at the same time, it's like they spoil everything. They spoil everything. And so it's like, it's a double-edged sword. And a lot of the times people, don't leave the mystery of like stuff up in the air. Sometimes they try, right? They try if they're the kind of person that's like, I'll add tags as I write the chapters. Therefore, you as a reader, if you're reading it from like the beginning, from the moment it's posted, don't know how things are going to turn out, because every chapter, that gets updated is only going to have, you're not going to see the tags beforehand, right? You're going to see the tags, maybe after you've read the most current chapter. So I think arranged marriage, it has potential for me. I think it's like A tier. A lot of people like it. I think it's not perfect though. I think it's, a bit iffy depending on the writer. It's like, it's either gonna be good or not. Asphyxiation. Asphyxiation. It can be pretty good, I guess. There's a lot of people do enjoy asphyxiation, don't they? They like that when their characters are just choking each other out in very intimate situations. What do you think of it, Sub? I want your opinion. I'll defer to the council on that specific one, because I got a couple ideas for these other ones. Do I have my tea? Did I run out of tea? No, I didn't. Okay. Because I'm thinking maybe B, like it's... I don't know. I don't think I've read anything that has asphyxiation in it, so I literally cannot give an opinion on it. I just know people... I don't know. I feel like people often just have it in their thing, but I suppose there's a tag sometimes. I guess if there's a lot of it. I'll put it in D. I'll put it in D because I've not read much of it that has that in it. Yeah, is the way I'd phrase it. Bang or die. Once again, not one that I think I've read much of at all, actually. That one's a weird one conceptually. I assume it's like a superpower thing, right? Where it's like, oh, two characters, are in a position where they either have to fuck or die. They're in a room, they need to fuck or die. Honestly, I think it's kind of lazy. I think it's just a lazier one. To me, anyways. So I would just put that in D. Bathing and washing. That's pretty wholesome. Once again, it's a bit of a context one, but assuming this is like a character thing. I like my fluff sometimes. I think it can be pretty cute, And also, if mixed in with a couple of other tags and whatnot. You know, if the two characters are like kinda antagonistic, but they're kind of trying to work things out or something of that nature, I think it can be pretty alright. I'll put it on B, because it's pretty alright. BDSM. I've not read anything with BDSM in it. Just straight up. So, neither have I read anything with this in it, probably, I think. Betrayal. I read a couple of fics that have betrayal as a tag. Again, that falls into like the whole angst sphere of things, and it really depends on. I guess most of these depend on a good writer or not. But I suppose I'll try to add my own personal taste to it. I like it if the fanfic is more so story. No, I guess they're all story driven, but you know how certain fanfics are like. I guess it's the genre, right? It's the genre. Like, are you writing a? Is it romance? Is it like something else, right? Because if it's betrayal in a romance sense, I don't really like that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really like it. Although it does like add an interesting bit of stuff to it, because there's the whole like redemption arc idea that could potentially spur out from that. Not only that, but if we're talking betrayal and just like the we're lovers and you betrayed the group that we're a part of, and now I have to come and chase you down and whatever, that kind of thing, that folds more into just a certain side of angstiness that I like. So, I think it's like fine. I think it's like maybe on the upper echelon of B. Biting. Ooh, biting. Biting. Well, you know your boy already, so that one's not anything I need to put thoughts in. It's just top tier, S tier for me. Blood. Do I care much for blood? Well, blood is just. I feel like a lot of these. If it's like an action thing, it just makes sense. But like a lot of these are clearly. I don't even know what context, right? So it's like context. I need context. What context? That just goes into the context category. Jolly, would you eat a fish if it had hands? This is an important question. Like human hands, or I'm assuming human hands. So, I mean, if you just gave me the fish, I'd probably not eat it because I'd be like, this is fucking weird. If you just cooked the fish without me knowing that it had hands and then told me it had hands, I'd look at you as if you were weird. So the answer is no. I probably would not eat a fish if it had hands, because that implies it is some kind of problem going on with it. Like a mutation. Body fluids, okay? Context. Body waste is also context. Like, it's just context. Context. I need context for these things. Body worship. I like that. Upper echelon of A. Let's go. Body swap. Okay, I think me personally, body swap, I think is pretty boring. Just there's not much interesting that can happen with body swap. It's hijinks basically. It's a kind of comedy that I'm not really into, because it's just like, oh, two characters now have to pretend to be one another, and they're not very good at it. Like, it's a very easy to see. It's very 1, 2, 3. There's a formula for it. And sometimes that's also used in like romance related stuff as a way to like try to connect the two further, which I would just find hard to believe, because if I was in like, I don't know, if let's say I was just swapped bodies with like my crush or something, assuming I had one, I'd be more so freaked the fuck out than, all of a sudden coming to certain conclusions and appreciation about the other person. So to me, that's more, I think body swap is just like this D tier. Bonding. Bonding, huh? It seems like fluff to me, so that's alright. B. Breakup or divorce? Let's see. Breakup or divorce? How can have I even ever come across anything that involves a breakup or divorce? I think in romance fics, it's like a temporary breakup sometimes. Then again, because it could include like one character just being recently divorced or in a breakup, and then another character, like they meet the other character and they develop something, or it could be those two characters who the story is about breaking up and having to deal with that. I've never seen a fanfic like that, to be fair, because I think one, it would be kind of difficult to write for people. I think in general, those kinds of things are difficult to write. I don't know. I'll put it C tier just because it's like, cannibalism. Cannibalism tag. Once again, I feel like immediately putting that in what context, but like let's try and give it context, like it could be maybe like a let's say, I don't know. Fuck, what kind of fic would involve cannibalism? I I genuinely don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think on this so hard right now, because it's like maybe it's like it involves a murderer, so it could be like a murder kind of thing. I don't know. I might need to put that one in the cannibalism. I mean the just just the context one. Like, what context, bro? I need more context for this shit. Like, it could be like I said, like it could be like, I don't know, maybe because there are romance stuff that involves murders, right? There's like obviously fan fictions where people just want to get railed by some, I don't know, crazy motherfuckers, And I can't blame them, I can't blame them. Because guy's equivalent of that is just wanting some chick that's willing to murder for him. Yandere behavior and all that shit. So, literally cannot judge. Canon compliant. Canon compliant is 50-50 for me. Canon diversions, I enjoy quite a bit. Like, I like the concept of it. If I were to write a fucking fanfiction, obviously it'd be canon diversions, and I'll explain why. Canon compliant fics, in my opinion, tend to be more boring because nothing new is gonna really happen. That is more so, if canon compliant is what you write, if you want a story that is more so about the characters in it, and then canon diversions is, in my opinion, because I guess, there might be, some people might say there's a difference between canon diversions and an AU, right? An alternate universe. to me they're kind of the same, but let's say maybe for the sake of things, I should just assume they're two separate things, right? So let's say canon diversions is close to the story, but has a couple of different things that might happen. And then canon compliant is, hey, things are exactly the same. I'm just writing a little story in that same world. Like I said, canon compliant, it's more so you're just focused on the characters, but canon diversions I like more just because it involves just like those ideas you get sometimes about like what would happen, like the what if situations is what can be explored through canon diversions, right? And to me, that's more interesting because I don't want to read about the same thing over and over and over again, which, let's admit it, a lot of fan fictions are the same thing, just, maybe in different places, different situations, but they're basically the same thing. It's just, it'll be like, oh, romance between this character and that character. Like, I haven't seen that before. No, like, I want to know, what if this character made a different decision? What if this character said the wrong thing at, like, the right time? What if this character found out about a crucial piece of information earlier on in the story? I personally find that to be, like cool and, like, things to explore. Like, that should be explored in writing. Like, that is, to me, the point of fan fiction is to be like, what if this happened instead? And when that's written, like, swell, it's so good. I want to sink my teeth in it. So canon compliant is okay, right? But canon diversions, I place pretty up there. Like, it's pretty up there for me. As a fellow who himself, if I were to write something, it would just be straight up an AU, because that's just, I like to explore certain concepts, I guess, about the world that I would write. I do so in my head all the time, so it makes sense that I would like it in paper. Or I guess in digital paper in this case. Character study tickles my brain in a good way, but I don't know how often it's done right, because sometimes I don't get the point of what the writer is trying to study. Like, what are you trying to study about this person? And it's usually why they're doing a thing, or why they are the way they are in the canon, which is fine. I get... It really depends on the character. So character studies, I'll put them in, like, the middle of B. Because it really is just depends, bro. Depends on the character. Childhood best friends. Cute. A tier. I'll just put it A tier. It's cute. It's the dream the fellas have that can never be achieved. Codependency. Now this one is a bit it's a bit because it depends also, I guess, on the other tags, like, it's partially a what context kind of thing with codependency. Other times it's like, you want to read something that's a little fucked up. So I think it's actually kind of good. I think it's kind of good in terms of, like, a theme. Like, I want to know just how much codependency there is. Like, I need to know why this character is so attached to this other character, or, vice versa, depending, I guess, on the which viewpoint we're taking, assuming it's not just, like, equally hopping between the two characters, or more, I guess. I think it's alright. I think it's like, yeah, let's put it on upper B. Coercion. The only time you ever see coercion related stuff is, well, actually a lot of times it's smut, because smut is smutty. What other context would you see coercion? I guess it's like, okay, what about just coercion, the concept in a fic? There's stakes, right? it adds stakes. That's just the whole concept of coercion. There are stakes at play, and you kind of have the character either playing ball or attempting to play ball, but not actually playing ball. So it's like, kind of like, kind of like, in a sense, making a deal with the devil, right? Where it's like you're trying to follow the deal, but you're trying to do it on your terms rather than their terms. So it's like, whether the character succeeds in that or not, it's like, it just provides stakes. And I think it depends, right? Because if it's just straight up like, do this or else, right? And I'm like, that's kind of boring. That's kind of boring. But if it's like a more, I guess, story-driven thing, right? Then coercion can actually be pretty interesting. Because like I said, it just adds stakes to the story. And that's something a lot of fanfics kind of lack, so I'll put it in A tier just because potential, right? The potential of this kind of stuff is good. Coming of age, I'm gonna be real, like, coming of age is boring as fuck. At least in the fanfiction sense, like, I can watch an anime that's like, about coming of age, but as like a fanfiction thing, I just think it's boring as fuck. Like, that's not what I'm coming here for. So, just D immediately. Confession? This one's tricky. Confession. I actually don't know about confession. So obviously it's like romance, right? But is it like, if it's confession with something else, it might be good. Confession by itself, I guess it can be cute, right? And sometimes it can be cute. So I'll just put it, because I guess it's another one of those like, oh, it depends on the writer type of thing. But I think it can be pretty damn cute. And sometimes you just want to read something that's cute, right? You just want to read some fluff. So there you go. Consent, right? Let me try and make sure. Well, I guess if they had the other. Okay, consent. It's just this one consent. I don't think there's any other kind of consent here. Alright, so consent, right? I guess. Like, is that really a tag? Oh fuck, where did I put it? Like, cause I could imagine if it was like dubious consent, I can be like, okay, now we're playing with fire, right? If it's dubious consent, but just the tag consent itself, it's like, well, most of the time it's consensual when they do a thing like that. So maybe this is more so like the idea of checking in. I think I'm a little confused by this one. Not by like the idea of consent, obviously, but I just mean like the tag, like what the purpose of the tag is, what it's meant to convey, and how that would be incorporated into the story. You know what I mean? Like that one. That's how I'm confused. Because like I said, like most stories don't have it. Like they have consent. Like it's a given, right? It's a given that if two characters are gonna bang, they're doing it consensually, unless there's a specific tag that says that they're not, right? So I don't know. Just what context? I would put that in just what context, bro. Crack. Crack is just basically crack itself. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about cracked because sometimes they're just too stupid. I do like crack taken like I do love crack. That should not be taken out of context. Like a crack story that's kind of taken seriously, I think I can vibe with, because then it's like, okay, like we're taking a ridiculous concept and then taking it seriously. How would that turn out? I kind of like that. But just like a ridiculous concept itself, that's just comedy, but like there's a certain amount of it that I enjoy, and like if it's too much, I don't like it. If it's, you know, too little, that just makes it normal comedy. So I'll put it on B. Actually, like C. Let's just put it on C. Crime. Crime as a tag. Crime as a tag. Once again, if it's very story driven, like things are happening, it can be actually pretty interesting. But if it's just like a background thing, like a setting, then it's not very interesting. So this one deserves B, I think. Let me put a little bit more right here between these two. Crossover. Crossovers are just notorious for being a just a mixed bag of mostly bad writing. On the off chance that it is good, that's like a diamond in the rough kind of thing. Most of the time it's not done well conceptually. Also, it's kind of tricky because it depends what you're crossing over and to what extent, right? Which I think can be like done well. It definitely can. It's one of those that, like a couple of others, honestly, my S tier is mostly just filled with things that have, not even my S tier, A tier, things that have potential, right? And I feel like crossovers are one of those that, in theory, they've got plenty of potential, plenty of it, right? Because you can be like, take these characters and put them in this world, right? Where they are the main characters, or of this thing, and how would that turn out? And who would be the equivalent of who in the respective, like, characters, right? Like, who would replace who? Or how would certain characters interact? On the other hand, there's a lot of cringe in there. Because it's often a lot of amateur writers that begin with crossovers. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the reality, right? Just a reality. In my opinion, it's okay. It's an okay thing. It really just depends. I would put it in A, but I'm not going to. Maybe like upper B. Just because it's like, there are a few of those that are like good, but most of the time, it's just a playground for more amateur writers, such as, teenagers, I guess. Cuteness aggression as a tag. I don't know what to do with this. So what context? Dark fic. Okay. Dark fics. I do like I said, I'm an edgy motherfucker. And it depends what the person means by dark fic, because dark fic can mean a lot of things to different people. It can mean a lot of different, like, dark fics need to be supplemented with other tags in order for you to understand what kind of dark fic it is. Like, things are going to be bad. It means there's going to be a bad ending, at least. That's usually what a dark fic is. It's going to be just an unhappy time for the characters and you who are reading it. Probably, to some extent, unless that's what you're looking for, and it, provides you, like, pleasure, I guess, for lack of a better word. Just gonna check on something real quick. Sub, what do you think on it, if you're still there? What do you think on dark fics? What is your opinion? Because for me, it's probably to my liking, but like I said, it just depends on what other tags are in there along with it, not by itself. At least that's how I view it. By itself, it's just kind of like a toss-up. Otherwise, it's like, it can be pretty good, just as long as you know what the other tags are. Oh, there is dubious consent. I didn't realize that. There is that tag there. Sub? Maybe sub is locked in. Locked the fucking... Alright. I'll place Darkfix in, I kind of want to put him in A tier. Because like I said, they got potential, right? They got potential in the right hands. But it's really dependent on other tags. So... upper B. I'm going to put it in upper B and leave it at that. Dead dove do not eat. Once again, this is usually like some pretty fucked up shit. Typically. Like something that the average person is most likely gonna be like very grossed out by and questioning the mental stability of the person who wrote it. I'll put it in B. I think it's alright. It really depends. It's similar to Darkfix. It's one of those things that's like very dependent on other tags along with it. Not by, like, you cannot judge it by its own. You gotta, like, judge it by what it's with. You gotta judge it by its company, in a sense. That's how you can only properly judge that kind of tag. Denial. I guess this is, like, more romance related, right? Like, in denial of feelings, maybe. It can get annoying. So just because of that, I'm gonna put it in C. It just can get quite annoying. Derealization. This one I can see being interesting. Derealization, this is more so. This is like, obviously can be used outside of romance and whatnot, right? Mostly it's probably gonna be used outside of romance. Depends on the fic, but I think if it's like a psychological horror type of thing, and they have derealization, I think that's just interesting. But if it's just like derealization as its own thing, like as a condition of the person, the character, I think just these kinds of things, like mental health things, are often not done well outside of like a like if it's a story about said mental condition, I can't say in good faith that many of those get done well. But if it is derealization in the sense of like, oh, actually let me check. I can just like skim again to see if to see if there's anything that I would place in its stead. Okay, let's just take it as is. Derealization as a thing, unfortunately, most of the time not going to be done well. Same thing for, honestly, a disability. The disability tag. Some stories do it okay, others don't. You gotta do a lot of research into it, and some people do their fair share of research into it. I'm not gonna say they don't, but at the same time, if it's a story about disability, I've not really read any of those. So, depends on the context, I think, with this one. Like, is it just something that the character suffers, or is it like a big point in the story? Because if it's a big point, then there you go. But if it's just like a thing that happens, then it's only gonna be a thing that's focused on for a little while before it's no longer focused on, or at least as much. Dom and sub, that's just very tame. So, you know, it's okay. Domestic violence as a tag. That's more into the angsty stuff again. Like I said, same as abuse. It's like, what context, right? What context are we talking about? but I guess it's like domestic violence, so it's like partners and whatever. I do like my angsty shit. Like I said, I like my shit to be kind of fucked up, kind of angsty, you know. So I'll just put it in like B tier. B tier, because it's like, well, it kind of needs more context. I kind of need to know what the story is about. And sometimes it's not even between like the two main characters or whatever. Sometimes it's just like, oh, there is violence in the household of this one character who lives there, right? Domestic, this is just boring to me. So D. Doomed by the narrative. Doomed by the narrative. I need to look up what that means because I kind of forget. I have a general idea of what it means, but I just need to look it up. Doomed by the narrative. Catchphrase and trope used to describe a character who is doomed to die or meet a tragic fate in service of a story's plot, their death being alluded to through foreshadowing or other narrative devices. Okay, so I have a pretty... My recollection of what this trope was is correct. Honestly, I do like this trope. I just don't see it being used often because, like I said, a lot of the time, people make a fanfiction about characters they really like and are rare to have anything bad done to them. So, you will rarely see something like doomed by the narrative, I think. But if you did have it, I do think it'd be pretty good. It'd be, once again, dependent on the story, but if they're dying, if there's death in the story, I guess it would be kind of my type of tea, right? I liked Doomed by the narrative if it's done well. Doomed family. Doomed family, doomed lover, doomed relationship. Okay. Doomed relationship, it kind of just sad all around. I'll put that on like C because, you know, I wouldn't not read something like that, but I'd just be mainly sad. Doomed family is a bit trickier because I get the concept. I'm going off of just the concept, but I don't think I've ever actually read anything with that tag on it. Doomed family. Let me think on that. This one's actually kind of interesting because what did they mean? Like, I think just my lack of having actually seen anything with this kind of thing. Because doomed lovers I've seen is similar to doomed relationship. Doomed lovers is like they're not even in. I mean, I suppose they're kind of in a relationship, but it's never like full on, right? It's not like officiated, so to speak. It's like, you know, these two characters love each other. Doomed lovers, I can see popping off. Like, that to me, it's like, you know, pretty good. So upper B, right? Upper B. But doomed family is a bit hard to place. So I'm going to put it into what context because I simply don't understand the, like how one would write that. Drunken intimacy. That's pretty, it's a tame kind of spiciness, but like, you know. Don't know why. I want to move the fish around a little bit. Let me just, you know, let me move him around. Let me move him out of the way. Let me just put him in the corner there. Leave him there. The bastard. Drunken intimacy. I think it can be pretty good. There's no real other words. I think it can just be pretty good. So, upper B. Dubious consent is one of those things that's like, oh, so we'll get you into trouble, but I find appealing to some extent. Once again, it really depends on how you write it, though. Because if it's just like more, how do you say? It depends, because I've seen this and it's more so like one person threatening the other, and in that, like, I don't really like. But it's more if it's like two characters who aren't really, or at least like one character who really isn't just certain, I guess. To me, that's like, ooh, that can be pretty good. So, upper B. Dysfunctional relationship. I don't think I've read anything with that, so... And even the concept kind of bores me. Dysfunctional relationship. Emotional baggage. Better than nothing. Established relationship. Boring. It's just straight up boring. Everyone is alive. Everyone is dead. Okay, everyone is alive is just like a fix-it type of thing, right? Usually you see that in Fix-It Fix, where a person write a fanfiction where the people who died are not dead. And that kind of is similar to the canon divergence, which I do enjoy. Issue being that sometimes certain characters die for a reason, or a character that is kept alive doesn't change much. Like when a person changes a character's status from being dead to being alive, often they continue the story as is, except with like some extra dialogue. It's kind of like playing a video game where you know it leads all to one ending, but the main game is basically all about how you get to that one ending instead of like your choices in that game having different endings. It's kind of like that. This gets treated way too lightly. People don't really do much with it, unfortunately. In theory, this would be very good because it would be similar to canon divergence, but just like with canon divergence, people do not use it to its fullest extent. So unfortunately, D tier, everyone is dead. You see this more often being like a better thing than everyone is alive because it changes so much, right? If a lot of people died in a story, that means things have to change just by virtue of that. So upper B, right? Upper B. Everyone is gay. Although funny, just is a little like it's just boring to me when everybody's just like, this is just like a self-fulfillment kind of thing in a way that's not entertaining to me. Exes, I don't really care for that either. Fake dating / marriage. Similar to arranged marriage, except without the consequences, I guess. And it's usually kind of comedic. It depends on the characters, I think, that are used to write that kind of story. I'll put it in B. It's like, it's alright. It's alright. Falling in love. I think that's also a B tier type of thing. It's simple, but I guess it depends if it's mutual or if it's like, because that kind of feels like a slow burn. That's just like, I guess falling in love can be done without it being a slow burn kind of story. But I think most of the time it is done like in a slow burn sense. And to be fair, it's not all that complicated in terms of like what it is. It's just either two characters falling in love with one another or one character falling in love with the other. If it's that and it's like not reciprocated, I think that could be interesting. Or if it's like a character knowing that the other character is not gonna love him back, like I find that, like I like that, like I like, because angsty shit, right? I've already said so once, and I've said many times before actually that angst is just good for me. I love it. Feminization. It depends on the character, I guess. So B tier. Depends on the character. Sometimes you just want to see it happen. Other times it's like I don't want to see it happen. It just depends on the character. So just actually let me put this on like C. Fic inspired by blank. That's a dangerous ground to tread because what's the context, right? Inspired by a song, inspired by a book, inspired by another fic. Every fic is inspired by something or another. They just don't tell you what it is. So, what context, right? First kiss. C tier. Not because it's like what the like that doesn't need to be a tag in the first place, you know? Doesn't need to be a tag. First love can be interesting. So it's kind of the same as falling in love. First time. First time. Okay, on its own two legs. Okay, let's just say it's like a first time, fic where the two characters are gonna shaboing, and it's like boom. It's their first time. They're gonna start plapping or something sooner or later, but it's their first time, and that can be rather sweet. It can be a rather sweet story, or it can just be raunchy as hell. It just depends on the context. Like, unfortunately, this is just a what context, because that really changes how I feel about it, to be fair. Fix It is... A lot of fix-its are just kind of garbage, because they take out the problems that are already there, and they don't do anything interesting with it. It's literally just like oh, what if this character had fixed all of what makes him interesting with this other character, right? Because a lot of characters, like relationships and a lot of things that people are willing to write fan fictions about are, like there's conflict between characters a lot, right? And that's why people like writing fan fictions about them. But if it's to fix it, then all of that conflict is gone. It gets it gets resolved in a usually boring way, honestly. A lot of fix-its just don't do it in an interesting fashion. Or they try to do a fix-it for two characters who would never, be chill with each other to any capacity. And I understand the point of fanfiction is supposed to, be that it gives a writer freedom to write whatever the damn hell they want. But, sometimes, too often, do I see fix-it tags be applied to two characters who just, you could not convince me would be chill with one another. Because, it'll usually be, one person has done something pretty damn horrible to another, and then it's okay, we're chill. They somehow, after a couple of very basic, bonding moments, are all fine with each other. And it's that's not how people work, That's simply not how people work. If you're gonna write a fix-it, ensure that it's the things that are happening in the story are impactful, that the reasoning behind why they are now cool with each other, even if they haven't inherently forgiven one another or one character has not forgiven the other, you just gotta make sure it just lines up, that it feels like it makes sense, that it feels like it's worked for, right? If you don't do that, and it just comes off as just very much, just very bland. Fluff, like I said, because it can be pretty good. Or, yeah. Basic, very basic, but I'll just put it on the middle of B, because it's not bad, it's not good, it's okay. You like it every now and again. Some people really love it. I personally don't really get into it. Forbidden romance. Forbidden romance. What do I think of that? it the I know like half of my answers to these things is just it depends. This is just the fucking it depends fucking stream, you know? But it's really the case in this. Like there's no other way to describe this as like, well, you know, like what kind of relationship are we talking about? Like is it similar to let's say like an age gap type of thing, right? Or is it more so that they are, you know, a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing where it's they're, you know, from opposing sides and therefore that's why it's forbidden. I'll put it in B tier just because it's the safe place to put that. Friends to strangers. Pretty angsty shit. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've read many of those. I think this is one of those tags that people are very much not willing to write about. Just because they're cowards, so if they did, I think it would be upper B. Like, I think this has, like, a lot of potential, actually. Like, plenty of it. But just because people are very much unwilling to write about that, I'll put it just upper B. Gang violence. It could be cool if this is, like, a more action-y, story-driven, like, in relation to the crime tag type of thing, right? Like I said, it really depends, because this would involve probably like an AU, or I guess maybe in certain shows like there are gangs already as a part of said show or book or movie. So it'd be alright. So, lower B. Gay chicken. What does that mean? I don't know. Gender swaps. I don't really feel it. Think gender swaps are kinda meh. They're just pretty meh. Cause it's like the same character except like, oh, it's either one has been gender swapped, so now you have, you know, the one character that used to be a guy is now a girl, or the one character that used to be a girl is now a guy. Or it's just like gender swaps the entire cast, right? Which means they're just basically the same character, except their life experiences might be a little different because, you know, they're men and women now instead of, you know, or sorry, they're like reversed men and women. Like, the men become women, the women become men. Not really all that interesting. Getting together, whatever. Gore, really the context in this is what needs to happen. Like, if it's just like an action kind of fic, then like I'm fine with it. Like, and even then, if it's like an action fic, it would need to be certain kinds of fics that I would be like cool with that. Like, I don't know, does the combat necessitate there being gore? Like, if you're writing something that's like, you know, straight up people using guns and explosives and whatnot, it's like, yeah, of course there's gonna be gore. It's like, that's how fucking modern warfare works, baby. That's how warfare of the, even if it's not that, right? Even if it's like a fantasy thing, I just guess it depends on how mature, quote unquote, the story is supposed to be. Like, the themes and whatnot. Like, if it's supposed to be a pretty down to earth type of thing, in the sense of like actions having consequences, then gore being a part of that could, you know, enforce that in your story. If you're writing, like I said, like an action related story, or just your story has gore in it. If it's like a horror story, I don't really read horror fics at all, because why would I? And yeah, like I said, it really depends on the context. Like, what are you writing? What are you writing about that requires, like, because like I said, it either requires it or it doesn't. Graphic description of blank. that's a C tier because it's like I can think of a couple of things that would require graphic descriptions, right? This can fill literally anything. It could be like an injury, it could be the acts that a person is taking in terms of like smutty material. It could be, usually it's not that though. Usually it's like, again, this sometimes is like attached to gore. Usually it's like if you're only gonna have one scene that shows something gory happening, that's usually what'll be tagged as like graphic description of blank. So honestly, it should kind of go in the same category as what context, but this makes more sense. This is usually only ever used in the context of like there's gonna be one singular scene that shows something violent to a graphic extent. But outside of that, there's nothing else. I would just put that on C because, spoiler alert, I guess. Grief and mourning. It can be done pretty damn good. And it depends, like, for all kinds of things, right? I think this is a tag that could work basically anywhere. And can be good. Like, if it's romance, it can be good. If it's, not romance, if it's just like a normal story or actiony or involves a character who's like, I don't know, an immortal or something of that nature. If it's an immortal guy, or gal, and it's like the story is about them and their immortality and like, oh, how time has passed and they miss X, Y, and Z, then yeah, I think that's pretty good. Grooming. Grooming as a tag. Why is grooming a tag? Now that is a very specific type of forbidden love. If I have anything to say about it. I've said I like my fucked up shit before, right? But it really depends. I'll put it in B because why not? Why not? I want to see what kind of shit people write when they write that sort of behavior being done. I want to know just how fucked up they write the character. Just what are the author's thoughts about the character's thoughts in that situation. That intrigues me. I'm like, yes, give me more. Give me more weird and fucked situations. Hallucinations/delusions. Again, context. That's a very heavy context thing. Harem. This rarely gets done well. Like, it rarely gets done well at all. And I guess for some people, the question would be, can it even be done well? And I would argue yes, but that it just like with anything else, it can. It's just gonna require very specific angling and concept, and also you're gonna have to either like the character, but like, okay, harem stuff is usually very self-inserty. I don't know how to rehash it in my mind, to be fair. It's very self-inserty, and it's usually only one kind of side of the fan fiction folks that really uses that, right? I'll just leave it at D because it's just not done well most of the time anyways. Healing. Context. It's just what context, right? It's like, what are you talking about by healing, right? Internalized homophobia, I think could be pretty interesting because it just angst, right? I do enjoy watching a struggle. Like, that's actually something that's a lot of people are understandably very cowardly to write about. It's like a character who is most likely, not gonna be okay with themselves. So I think that's like it's a difficult thing. I don't even think it's particularly more difficult than other stuff. I just think it's one of those things you don't see often because people don't want to touch it. But I personally think it would be actually like a great story, especially if you're trying to milk the angst out of a situation. It's like, bro, you just have like one character who's like internally homophobic. It's like, boom, you're good. You're good. Don't know why my PC is blowing air. My PC's like just blowing air. What is going on, huh? What is going on? What is requiring my PC to to be doing what it's doing? Something's happening. Well, that's my GPU. Okay, that's weird. My GPU is like on and it's just being weird. What is it doing? I don't have anything. I don't have any games on right now. Or anything. It should not be doing that. Should not be doing what it's doing. This is worrying me a little bit, so I'm gonna what the fuck? This is so weird. Okay, I'm gonna end stream here, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back because this needs to be dealt with. Like I literally have no clue why this is doing that, unless it decides to calm the hell down, which is kind of not doing. I'm gonna just turn off my PC and come back to stream. So, yeah, I'll be back. All right, Kindred. Just pretend I'm the fish for now because something very strange is happening where for whatever reason my the program I'm using for my PNG, the VOD tube, is the thing that's making my GPU just start going crazy. I don't know why. Like when I turn it on, GPU just activates like a motherfucker. And I don't know if that's something that I can fix in the moment or if it's not. Like I genuinely don't know how something like that can even happen. But I'll just mayhaps simply place I can't even place in it. That make me a little awkward, but placing an image of myself might be our only solution for the time being. Or we can just pretend I'm El Pescado, so you can get your El Pescado stream. That's like so weird. Do I need to update the program or something? Well, let me see if it fucking lights my whole PC on fire right now. Okay. That's so weird. Is this just... Okay, never mind, I guess. Never mind. I guess it's fine? I'm so confused. Because I was testing this out, and I was like clicking the program on and off. And it was what was spiking. It like immediately spiked the GPU. I didn't even know this used GPU. That's so fucking weird. A little frightening too. To know that kind of thing can happen. Alright. Let's just fix everything, I guess. We're back in business. We're back in business until my PC decides to explode again. Strange as it may be, the show shall continue on. I'm still, like, concerned. Like, what the hell even happened? I was hearing my PC just, like, winding up, like, the fans were just going, just blowing and blowing, and I was like, damn, that's, what the fuck's happening, right? Then I look at my task manager, I look at the performance, and the GPU is, like, at 100. It's, like, at 99, 100, just wilding out for no discernible reason other than like, at first I thought maybe it was just, like, you know, OBS or something. Like, I don't know, because it requires an update, but you can choose not to update it, right? And it was fine. It was completely fine, right? But then, I turn it, I click off my program for, my PNG on and off, and then it just fucking spikes and then not spikes and spikes and not spikes. So now that it's normal, I still have no clue what has happened. I suppose we can just continue. I'll have to, like, snippet this, in an edit or something. Just smack it right in there so that it's all one VOD. Alright. I suppose we'll just... I'm just like, continue. We're continuing with the damn tier list, okay? We're not stopping this damn tier list. We still got plenty of time to burn through. Out here getting me worried for literally no reason. And then it fixes itself for literally no reason. Fuck. Bromance? As a tag? I don't know. C tier. Doomed siblings. Once again, I've never read any of this, so boom. Friends, no, enemies to friends to lovers. I personally don't like those. I think those are, like, I don't know. Because once again, it's done with people who would never actually get together. In like a million years, right? In a million years would this be used on people who just don't get together. Who would never get together, sorry. Experimentation. And I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's like not really a tag that gets used often, and if it is, it's probably not going to be anything crazy. I mean, it's same thing as like with gore or a specific, descripted thing, graphic description of X, Y, and Z. That's usually what's paired up with something like experimentation. Where did I put that? Right there, yeah. Friends with benefits. It's decent. It's like C tier at best for me. C tier. Humiliation, degradation. C tier. Hurt / comfort. So hurt and comfort. So something bad happens, but then something good happens, right? C tier, just because I feel like it's overdone. It's overdone to such an extreme. Like, almost anything that has hurt must have comfort. Hurt, no comfort. Now that's where it's at. Idiots in love? Boring. Immortality? Some characters are immortal, but I'm assuming this is applying to characters that aren't. And C tier because, yeah. Not really much you can do with that unless you're really trying to write like a very interesting storyline where things actually happen and it's not just introspection on the one character who just happens to be immortal. Improper use of blank. I don't give a damn about that. D tier. Incest. Oh boy, incest. What the hell? Am I supposed to do that? Am I outing myself? I guess I am. What do I think of incest in fan fictions? Like I said, I don't give a damn. Is it even written? Let's go on the basis of like, is it written good? Probably not. If you're writing incest, it's because it's smut. I guess there's like Andrew and Lele, right? That's the big incest game. I read a thing or two on that, and I was like, damn, that's pretty good. So I guess it's fine. B tier. Infidelity. Not really my thing. Kidnapping, boring. Killers in love, boring. Kinks, that's literally. How do you have that as its own tag? Just because that's its own tag, I'll put it there on D. Kissing. that's like, okay, kissing as a tag. It's fine, I guess. LGBTQ themes. Depends on the context, I guess. What are you doing with it is what matters, I suppose. I don't think I've literally read any fic that has that in its description. Sorry about that. Love at first sight. I think it's like rather boring. It can be like, obviously like there's some stuff that can be cute that I've definitely put higher ranked than love at first sight, but I feel like just the concept of love at first sight is pretty damn, I don't know, it's just like, what are you supposed to do with that, like, what are you, there's not much to be done with that concept outside of just like very, I guess it would just be fluff. It would just be fluff, really. Which is okay. Love to hate. Oh, this is one of those that needs to be paired up with other tags. So I guess it's okay. It's fine. It's C tier. Love quadruple. I've never seen a love quadruple. So, love triangle, I think I've seen. Oh. Could do a love at first sight subversion, like the one they fall in love with is actually a terrible person. True. That's true. And hello. Welcome. Are you new here? I'm not sure if you're new here. I can easily check. Yes, you are. Bacchus. Or Saint. I shall call you Saint from now on. Welcome, Saint. And I guess you're right. It could be a subversion thing. But I'm thinking like overall, is it done well? Like in concept, I guess like if you're taking that specific route, yeah, that could be interesting, right? It could be interesting. But if you're just taking it like as it is actually made, like on any site, most of the time it's like very basic fluff essentially. And I'm okay with it. But I just don't like that particular like type, I guess. Yeah, the typical stuff is quite cliche and fluff. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pretty cliche stuff. That's the right word for it. Here's the list, by the way, if you want to take a good look at it. So, there's my S tier. There's my A tier, which I've been using mostly as a like, oh, this stuff has potential. It can be done very well, or it can just be very, B tier is just my safe option of I don't know. C tier is I kind of don't like it, and then D tier is just I don't really give a damn about it. Not in the sense of do people like it, but in the sense of I personally not giving a damn about it. And then what context is basically when I look at a tag and I'm like, I have no idea what this could even mean. Or like I know what it can mean, but like the context is important in certain tags, because most of these tags are romance related, obviously. But sometimes it's like, cannibalism. What the hell am I supposed to do with that as a tag? The first thing you saw when you joined was the incest in B tier. Biting in S tier is nice though. It do be like that. Listen, I know, questionable, but I don't give a damn. Like, The only reason I put incest here is because I read like a freaking Andrew and Lele type of thing, and I was like, damn, this is pretty hot. So I was like, fuck it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend like I didn't like it. Lovers to enemies. Let's see. I'm a big angsty guy. I love my angst. So, lovers to enemies. It is a good subversion from enemies to lovers, but it depends also. How is that generally written? Have I ever even read one of those? Because the issue with some of these tags is that I've straight up not read some of them, so I've just had to take them on the basis of like the concept, right? Which is a little bit more difficult. Because at that point, I go from enjoying, from like what do I enjoy to okay, logically would I enjoy this? You feel like lovers to enemies is quite rare. It is. It's like people fan fictions are a weird paradox because on one hand you get a lot of very dark and fucked up things that are written, but at the same time when it comes to like emotionally like negative stuff, people have a harder time writing about that, and so it's rare. Like for example, what I put up here, internalized homophobia. I think that has like a lot of potential in terms of like a story, especially if it's like a romance story, but people just don't write it because people are, for a lack of a better word, kind of cowardly and are not willing to write it. Like, possible, like good potential in that kind of story where a character learns to go through that and like deal with that and move on from that, but people just don't write it. So lovers to enemies, I feel in concept on its own, I don't know if to put it on lower B, because I do, like I said, I love my angst, but I'll put it on middle B, just because it's like a so-so type of thing. It really depends. Yeah, one wrong move in a story like that, and you end up accidentally endorsing homophobia. That's the thing. I think that's what people are afraid of, but I think if you come at it from a very obvious angle of like, this is harmful for, or like, if you show clearly that it is a harmful thought process for the character, or if you show that like there is a reason, like why the character thinks that way, like if it's just their personality, like they grew up a certain way and like that's naturally how you would think that character would actually be, then I think, if you're your average reader, you'll get it. But I think that is what people are afraid of. It's like, I think people are afraid of like seeming like they're endorsing it. Which I think would be actually hard to do. You would have to like blatantly be doing it that way in order for it to come off like that, in my opinion. Lovers to strangers is also one of those that people will have a hard time writing, that you barely ever see. Conceptually, I think this is interesting because it's like two people that very much know each other becoming strangers to one another. I think it's potential for like A tier stuff. I might put it on upper B. Lovers to Strangers, that one Jim Carrey film, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't even know what that's all about. And I think my PC is doing the same thing it was doing before again. Let me take a look. Yes, it is. Why is it doing that? Why is my... I'm sorry. Give me one moment. I've been having this issue where, for whatever reason, my little program here that I use for my PNG is just making my GPU go off. So I'm gonna have to disappear. Enjoy the fish. Pretend the fish's eye. There we go. I'm gonna have to figure that out sooner or later. Maybe the program needs an update or something, but this is like getting out of hand. I don't want my PC to just explode. Major character death. Major character death is a tricky one because it depends on one, the genre of story you're telling, and then two, how you carry on from that. Because usually I feel like the way you see that being done is that an important character dies early, and then it's like, okay, let's say it's like a mentor character. They die earlier than they're supposed to, or maybe that character isn't supposed to die at all, right? And so you're you're now having to deal with the student of that character and how they're gonna persist through the same story but without whatever lessons that character may have imparted. Or maybe it is the main character who dies. Like, what if it's the main character who dies in the fic, right? The main character of a show. How do the others deal with it? I think it is very much an angst thing, and me liking angst, I'm gonna put that in upper B. When written well, it can be good, but I don't think that many people would write that. Making up. Very much just fluff. Kind of, as a tag in and of itself, boring. It's like, whatever, It's whatever, but it's not bad. It's just kind of whatever. I don't mind if it's there. And I don't think others would mind it if it's there either. Especially if it's like a fix-it type of fic where that's kind of the expectation of the fix-it fic. Male pregnancy. That's when things get, a little. That's walking into the territory of what do you call them? Yeah, the alpha, beta, omega AU is male pregnancy. Most of the time, that shit just don't make sense. It just don't make sense. It's not really my thing. It doesn't make sense. It usually is kind of a little weird. I don't know. In my opinion, it's just like, and that's funny coming from me saying that. Oh, I think it's kind of weird when I, for certain, have more strange things that I like than male pregnancy. But just to me, it's one of those things that's like, how do you even write that and make sense of it? Marriage proposal. Once again, that's like a context kind of thing. Like, in what context is this coming up, right? I think that very much affects that kind of story that has that in it. Mary Sue. I mean, nobody likes those, right? Mary Sue's, or whatever the guy version of it is called. Unless it's like for comedy, which is not done ever, I think. Or maybe actually, I think I may have seen one, but not read it, that was very blatantly meant to be like a rip on Mary Sue type of stuff. Mental health issues. I feel like most people don't know how to write mental health issues if the story is about that, and or people, how do you say, they'll use it in their story in a very limited manner. They'll use like a dumbed down version of it, for lack of a better word, or just barely comment on it, but like try to physically show the effects of said mental health issue. So I feel, it's really like a 50-50 or even less on whether you're gonna get that to be done well in a story or not. Mostly because, most people are kind of, for lack of a better word, ignorant to how certain mental health issues work. Mental health issue, lover comes along, one day pass, one kiss, severe issue immediately fixed. I feel like I see quite often. Mental issue, lover comes along, one day pass, one, yeah. You're right. It's usually like a setup for, for like fluff and stuff like that, which is fine. Like, if it doesn't have to be the most in-depth thing, but I kind of wanted to put it in like context, because it also depends. It's very much a tag that depends on the story type, right? It's like, is it about the mental health? Is it just that the character is struggling with it. Like, I don't know, like Guts from Berserk, right? Like the story kind of has to do with how he deals with things, but it's not about strictly the guy's mental health. It's more so that it's part of the story that the guy's kind of fucked in the head a little because of his like suit of armor and whatnot. And I know that's not a fanfic, but you know, like to get the point across, right? Mental instability. I mean, you know, I don't know. Context? Berserk is Guts Griffin fanfic. It could, it could be. It could, well, it may as well be. Because it's just, man, that's a way to boil it down. It's just fanfic for Guts and Griffith. I don't doubt that now that I think about it, there probably is fanfiction about those two, considering one is a buff guy and the other's a twink. Oh god, it's a buff. I think giving myself the mental images was a mistake. Mind control. That's probably just smut stuff, right? Like, that's the only context I ever see it in. What do I think about mind control? Sheep gimmick, I guess. I'd still read it though. I think it's mind control stuff is like in that category of things that for me it's like garbage, but like garbage. It's like ships. It's like it's bad, but I'll still read it. It's definitely enemies to lovers, but for Berserk they could make it lovers to enemies, then enemies to lovers. That's true. Damn, that is pretty true. It could, you know, it could be like that if you're going for that angle of the two being lovers, right? You're pretty good at this. Minor character death. Minor character death, I feel like it's inconsequential. Like, it's D tier because it doesn't matter. Right? It's like, doesn't matter to the story that you're writing that minor characters die. If a major character dies, like if one of the main characters that is important to your story dies, that's important, right? If one of the minor character dies, then what's the point? You know, it's like that's just like background noise almost, unless it's just meant to be like, oh, you know, there's a serial killer around and oh, this guy got murdered, that guy you barely even cared about. Miscommunication. I find this annoying as hell. I'm not gonna lie. Miscommunication is like please. Like I don't even know if it can be done well, because it feels a lot of the time so telenovela, you know? Like it feels so soap opera sometimes. And like if you enjoy that, that's fine, but you like when minor characters' death in the past helps explain a character's behavior though? Like ex-boyfriend dies so they're too scared to date. Also, yeah, communication is just infuriating. Miscommunication. Yeah. I suppose you do have a point on the thing. That does, yeah, I could see that angle of like, oh, you know, they had a previous partner and then that partner died. Or it could just be people in general. I guess it depends on like the kind of story you're writing. If it's like a darker, lots of people die in this world kind of fic, then it could serve the same role of like, I don't want to get attached to people because, you know, they die often. Missing person. Missing person. Why do I read that and immediately think of some like creepypasta fanfictions? Missing person kind of confuses me a little bit. I think I understand what they mean, which is like you have, let's say, two main characters and then one of them goes missing for whatever reason. You know, they get kidnapped or something. I already put kidnapped in like the D tier because for me it's just like meh, like boring. Missing persons would be kind of there, but I feel like missing persons would have more of a mystery behind it than just kidnapping as a tag, right? So I feel like that's what missing person has going for it, because it's like, why are they missing? I'll put that slightly above. I'll put it above kidnapping, because it just has more to it, in theory at least. But I feel like in practice, they're both in the same story. You feel like missing person focuses less on relationship and more on an individual, because one's not present the whole time. That is true. That is true. The focus on how they deal with it, what they do. Yeah. Actually, when you put it that way. B tier, maybe? Because like I said, if it's like a mystery thing, and it does, like you said, like focus on one person, it can be pretty good. But otherwise, if it's more so like romance related, I think that's where it falls apart a little bit. Because then it becomes too like cliche, I think. Mutual obsession. Okay, for me personally, I feel like mutual obsession can be kind of like... this is gonna sound weird. Funny, I guess, is the way I'd put it. It can be funny. Like, it is satisfying in like a weird way to me. But I feel like from a story perspective, watching two people that are clearly really into each other and have to pretend that they're not crazy individuals who are really into each other. I don't know. Like, I feel like this is like... It's a good concept, I think. How it's executed, I'm not too sure. But I feel like it could be pretty good. Because, like I said, it's two people pretending they're not fucking crazy for each other, having to figure out how to get with each other. And they're both like... Because it's kind of like miscommunication, almost. But, you know, kind of funny. And I think that's why I would like it more than miscommunication. Because it's kind of the same, but different. It's a different flavor of the same thing. It's more palatable. In my opinion. So I'll put it in C. I'll put it in like upper C. Because it kind of depends on how it's done as well. Mutual pining is kind of the same, except just tame. It's two people liking each other, and it's cutesy and whatnot, and I feel like that's alright. I don't think I really personally read much of those at all, if I'm being quite frank. I don't really read these at all. Because to me, it's kind of boring to just watch two people who like each other be normal about it. Right? If they're normal about it, you know, it's not that interesting. Name calling pet names, I don't really care for it. So, D tier. Non-consent. This one might get me in some trouble, but I do like it. I do like it. Ain't gonna lie. Sometimes you just have a character, you know, who I just don't like, and I'm like, what if bad things happen to that character? And that's literally the reason. Hate me for it? I don't give a damn, but that is my reasoning for that. Obsessed behavior. Like I said with the mutual obsession, it's kind of funny to me. It's kind of funny. I guess if it's from only one person's like side that they're being obsessive, the intrigue, I guess, like the inevitability of that person eventually slipping or doing something that's a little too crazy is, you know, how a person write that is interesting, because some authors are just going to be very boring about it. Other authors will be very good about it, especially if it's like, if you don't know as the reader, like if you follow one character most of the time and it's the secondary character that has an obsession with the main character, and even you, the person reading, don't know this or really don't get a vibe for it until like it's too late or whatever. I think it can I think it can be done pretty well. I'll put that in like A tier. Was it put it in A tier? Yeah. One Night Stand. That's just a smut fic. That's just your average smut fic. It's just a one night stand essentially, even if it's not, you know. But let's take it further. Let's try to say it's, a larger story that involves a one night stand, and maybe things happen because of that one night stand. And that can go into like the angsty territory. That can go into maybe play along with the love at first sight kind of thing that turns into a one night stand, and that one character, thought about it more than the other character. I feel like that type of dynamic can be one night stand, but they accidentally see each other again because one of them got a new job at the other's office. That kind of stuff, yeah. I feel like that's been in a manhwa or something. So I feel like it can be pretty alright. Pretty alright. So I'll put it upper B. It can be pretty good if done right. I mean, I suppose that's to be said for all of them. Right? Only one bed. I personally don't really see much of a point to the there's only one bed thing, because this is kind of like it's kind of similar to the idea of like two people stuck in a closet, where the whole point is just, are they gonna smooch and bang? And I guess that's fine. Is that my thing? Not really. Most of the time it's just an excuse for smut, so like, listen, I'm not saying I don't just read smut for the sake of it, but at the same time, like, I'll admit that, sometimes this stuff is just not inherently interesting. It's just the bag of chips of fan fiction. Something we indulge in but can admit is not necessarily good. Opposites attract. Pretty standard character dynamic, I think, right? Just opposites attract. For me, it depends on what characters we're talking about, because sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I just don't like the character that they pair the other person with, and therefore it kind of ruins it. Other times I'm like, yeah, this is fine. So, lower B. Lower B, and that's good. Original characters. This is where we go into some territory that, is one of those things that people either enjoy or do not enjoy. It's, you either like it or you don't, right? And me being the guy that's like likes it when people actually go pretty in-depth into like canon divergent stuff, or just straight up an AU, right? I'm the AU, like, I like different alternate versions of like a show and whatnot, and so I feel like original characters, some people definitely need to learn how to write better with them, but inherently I think they're a pretty good thing, especially if you're doing like a heavy canon divergence, but you're still doing the same world, same, it's not like an AU, right? It's the same thing, but just things changed, and now you're essentially creating a new story with that same world and same characters. I feel like original characters are pretty, in my opinion, I like them, because it shows that the person is actually taking into consideration like the fact that they're changing stuff. Other times though, I'll admit, people will just add a character into a world or show or whatever, right? And have it be the exact same thing beat for beat. So in reality, this is more so if it's like a 50-50 flip. You're either gonna get somebody that's just writing the same damn story except they have their own character in there, or like you're reading something that involves like things actually changing in the story, which I very much appreciate. out of character. I'm fine when characters are out of character, but then again, I feel like this is gonna be mostly like a context thing. What's the context, right? Like if you're just saying that they're gonna be out of character because you have you only have, let's say it's like a Genshin Impact thing where some characters you literally don't know anything about for like several updates because that's just how it goes, right? And so you only have a certain view of them, and technically speaking, the way you're gonna characterize that character is out of character because you're characterizing them based off of like very limited information. Then I feel like that's a fine, right? Sometimes you make them out of character for like comedic purposes. Sometimes they're just out of character because the person who's writing the fanfic thinks that this person would be different. It really depends. So this one's going in the what context. My tongue is dry as a desert right now. Damn. Overstimulation. Honestly, I guess, I don't know. It's like, I don't really care for it. So I want to put it in C tier. That's going to be like my immediate thing. I don't have a care for it. I don't really see it being used in any particular interesting way, right? Like, this is more just not my thing, I guess. Just not my thing. Paraphilia. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Let me look that up. Open the tab that is not seen. Hopefully I spelled that right. It's an experience of reoccurring or intense sexual arousal to atypical objects, places, situations, fantasies, behaviors, or individuals. It can also be defined as a sexual interest in anything other than a legally consenting human partner. Okay. I think this is just an abnormal sexual desire. Let me think on this one. This one's actually a bit... It's got me humming. Got me humming. How much more do we got? God damn. We got quite a bit more. So a sexual attraction to things, situations, like you said, kind of abnormally so. I think it could depend. It depends on the character, really, that you're writing about. Because certain characters I could definitely see being like that. As being very, objectively strange, right? So, I think it would be interesting, in my opinion. It would be interesting to see. So I'll put it like middle of B. Partners in crime. And that could be fun, honestly. It could be a fun story. You read a manga where the MC had a paraphilia of wanting to be strangled by a high school girl. That sounds fucking funny. That sounds funny. Honestly, I mean, is that too dissimilar from the men out there who are like, damn, I want to be strangled by a girl's thighs, I want them to just crush my head like a watermelon, like it's that kind of shit. Same type of level of like degen, but just a little different. Partners in crime, depending on the world, I think it's the context. True though, it was kind of peak. I knew it was peak. I could sense it. Partners in crime, very much a, like I said, it could be fun. That's all I really have to say about it. But I don't think I've ever read a fic with it having a tag that is partners in crime. So I'll just leave it at B for now. Maybe I'll change my mind a little bit. Because, like, I have read a couple of, like, My Hero Academia fics where it's, like, focusing on, like, freaking, like, the villains and, their goofy antics. And it's like, okay, that's funny, it's like comedy. Although if you're talking more of, like, a romantic sense to it, Partners in Crime in that, like, more, was it Bonnie and Clyde who were the folks who were, like, a couple and they got, like, shot up or something? I don't remember. But, if we're talking in that context, it can still be pretty good. Like I said, potential. It's got potential, but I've never read anything like it, so I'll leave it at B. I think that's pretty decent for something that I like, just conceptually. Past life. This one's tough. This one's tough because it's very contextual. I've seen a couple of things, not read, but, have read the synopsis of, like, the past life being whatever show they, like, or were from, and then it's usually, like, a modern AU type of thing. Honestly, no, what would be a good example of this? Demon Slayer, I think, is that's something that uses... I know some fics of that uses this, like, past life kind of narrative drive, I suppose, to put it in some fashion, to word it out, to speak it into the world, right? They just do that whole, like, oh, the show was their past lives, but now they live in the modern day, and they're, do they remember each other, and, soulmates kind of stuff. Do I personally enjoy it? I don't think I've... It depends on how the romance builds up, I guess. If you're doing it from that perspective of these two people were lovers in some past life, and now they're meeting again, and they're kind of getting to know each other again, and they feel like they, kind of have stronger feelings than they should. Things like that. It's like, it can be decent. So I'll put it upper C. Platonic relationship. That's a rarity these days. A rarity. I think a fic that... Have I even read a fic that focuses on just platonic relations? I know there's some fics that have had it, but the platonic relation is more so, like, between people that are, like, secondary characters and the main character of the fic. I'll just put it in what context, because I think that one's a little bit tricky. It's too tricky for me to think about right now. Podfic, I don't even remember what a podfic is. I've seen the term used, but I don't have any recollection of what it means for a podfic to be a podfic. Isn't that just like a smaller fanfiction? Or am I tripping? Research, I need to be done again. Okay, Googling it. What is a podfic? A podfic refers to audio recordings of fanfiction where individuals read fan-created stories aloud for others to listen to, similar to audiobooks. Okay. Some podfics makers go to the extra mile and add music or sound effects or have multiple people voicing it, so it's more like an audio drama. Gotcha. Okay. I like audio dramas. I never actually, no, I guess in technicality I have. That's like A tier. Because when it's done well, right? When you get people to get together, I think it's kind of cool in, like, the concept of, like, let's get a bunch of people to voice act these characters in this fanfiction. Let's put in the work, right? I think that's just cool to do. So, A tier immediately. Polyamory. I'm sure my viewer sub would have opinions on this. Me personally, I'm actually curious to see what sub thinks of it in terms of writing. Sub is another viewer of mine. They're not here right now, I think, or they may just be lurking. I don't know. I guess it can be okay. I don't think I've read that many stories that have it as like a theme, like a main theme. Maybe if we could see a story of the people getting together, that would be kind of cool. I think that would bring a certain dynamic, especially if some people don't necessarily know how to deal with having emotions for multiple people. And you have that whole little, like, you know, I guess the little panic of like, oh my god, you know, I like this person, but I also like that person. And, you know, maybe the other people also like more than just one person, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just like that one person. Like, it's an interesting tag with interesting possibilities in terms of like how you want to play the dynamics between characters, especially if you add this with like other tags. That's the word. Why did I almost forget the word tags? Possession, ghost and shit. I don't really have many thoughts about this, so C tier, because I think it's not inherently bad, but not inherently something I would go out of my way for either. Possessive behavior. Possessive behavior can be so-so. It can be either like cute, or you read a good manga lately called like Hikaru Summer, or something about a monster who possessed some dude's best friend's body. Were they like two high school boys or something like that? I remember there being one where like I think it was like a blonde kid basically that was like a monster or something like that. And then the other kid, like, I can't remember 100%. Yeah, that one? Okay, so I think we're thinking the same one. Yeah, I actually wanted to read that one because I found it interesting. But I never, like, found it. I'll just highlight this name just in case. Just put it in my little thing. The summer Hikaru died. Oh, that's the name. Well, thank you. That saves me a lot of time. Saves me a lot of effort, too. Like, that was kind of gone from my memory for a while. Let's put that. Where do I want to put that? That's something else. Right here. I'll put it right here in this category. Paste. There we go. Put that little notes thing away. And back to our regularly scheduled program. Possessive behavior. It can be cute. It really depends, though. Because it can be either like a... This is kind of the same thing as obsessive... Where was it? Where did I put it? Obsessive behavior, right? Possessive behavior, a little different, right? Because this is more tame. This is just like, you know... These two are together and they go to a bar, and then guy doesn't like that girl's getting flirted with and gets possessive, or vice versa, right? Girl doesn't like that other girls are getting touchy with her mans and whatnot. Or they cannot be together and it can still be the same damn thing where people are just getting jealous of, you know, what's going on, and the other getting attention from, you know, other people in certain ways that person one doesn't like person two getting attention in. I think I'd like that, but not as like the main thing of the story. So I'll leave it middle B. Goodness gracious. Still a lot of story left. Or not a lot of story, a lot of a lot of tropes. Sorry. If you frequent my streams again, you will know that I very regularly mess up my words. Both when I'm speaking out loud and just reading things. Actually, I gotta go do something real quick. It's gonna take me a couple of minutes, and I also might get myself something to drink. So I will be right back. Take a break yourself, get yourself something to drink, a snack, stretch, whatever you gotta do. I will be back. Give it 5-6 minutes. Huzzah! I have returned from the long journey to the west. My tongue is slightly parched now that I have water of the room temperature variety, because ain't no way in hell I'm drinking cold ass water in this cold ass temperature. Although I suppose technically it's still cold, but you know what I mean? Power imbalance. Power imbalance. I don't think I've read anything with the power imbalance that was too crazy, because it's just not my type of tea. Not my cup of tea. I don't know why, but it's just not. I don't think I have any discernible reason. It's just not something I've read. Pregnancy? I don't think I've read anything with that either. So, D. Psychological. Rarely done. Could be good. Lower B, just because of the, you know, I don't want to keep using potential as a reason, but it kind of, I've read one fic that had psychological like themes to it, and it was pretty good, pretty like, how do you say? Not invigorating. That's a weird word to use there. Sucked you into the story. That's what I was gonna say. It like sucks you into the story very well. I can't not remember what it was. Public display of affection. I mean, that seems pretty tame, you know, pretty just inconsequential. So D, I guess. PWP. Huh? What? Alright. This is why I feel like an old man sometimes. Okay, let's see what this means. Because it kind of just looks like a little emoji, like old school. Oh, okay, I see. Born without plot. Okay, to be fair, PWP is a term that gets used for both porn with plot and porn without plot. Oh. We are having bandwidth issues right now. And that fixed itself right quick, I think. Sorry about that. Just bandwidth issues just tend to happen a little bit. Hopefully it wasn't that noticeable or caused any issues for you on your behalf. Does irritate me quite a bit. Now what was I saying? This one, PWP, right? Porn with plot, porn without plot. This one always confuses me. This is literally a what context? Like, are you? Every time I see it, I'm like, are they saying with or without? Because that W, what that W is, really determines the rest of the fic. Rare pair. It's a bit of a refined taste, I think, because some rare pairs really don't deserve to be put together and should stay as far away from each other as possible. Other times it's like, fine. You know, it's like, oh, that's actually an interesting pair. Like, I wonder how this story is gonna go. So, upper B, just because sometimes it's good and sometimes it hilariously is not. Real life person fiction, not really my thing. Recovery arc. Recovery arcs. That is, I know there's some stories in which, like, obviously the character gets injured in canon and therefore people make like a fic during that time or that period of that person healing. They're all right. They're not the most complicated thing. Sometimes it's just angst. Sometimes it's angst with fluff. Sometimes it's just, yeah, it's a very simple kind of story thing. I guess what differentiates it from, you know, story to story would just be who wishes the character that we're talking about, and, you know, why that injury and therefore the recovery from said injury matters, right? Because sometimes if you're talking, let's say, I don't know, Ruby, right? Ruby, the show Ruby, and you're talk about like Yang, right? Didn't she get her like arm blown off or something? Something happened to her arm, and what's her main mode of fighting? She throws hands. She just throws hands with her shotgun gauntlet things, right? I don't know much about Ruby, but I know a little bit. I know enough. And so there's that, right? You could make a story of like, oh, a character who's struggling to, figure out how they're gonna continue doing their thing because now they kind of can't, right? So, recovery arc is fine, right? If you play it out in a similar way. Redemption arc. Listen, there's just sometimes some characters don't deserve to be, redempted. I feel like redemption arcs are rarely actually used. I feel like people just go with the fix it fic type of tag. They'll just be like, oh, well, things are gonna be fixed because that's the point of this story, right? But if it's like a genuine attempt of writing a actual redemption arc, those are tricky to write, and I don't know if people can write those correctly all that much. Don't know about your opinions on that, but my opinion is simply, as long as it, one, makes sense to the story that you are writing, and then two, just that as long as it isn't just like the most out-of-pocket character, I guess. You feel like a real heartfelt redemption arc can be peak. It can, right? It truly can. But I do feel like sometimes some people do redemption arcs for characters that just simply would not even want to be redeemed. Like, people like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example, but let's just think like a mad scientist who does fucked up human experimentation, some people, right? I'm sure there's a character like that in Genshin. Would you think that guy wants to be redeemed? Would he even care about being redeemed? Probably not. Not unless it was like for a certain purpose. Right? For ulterior motives. So, I feel like a good one would be good. I'm gonna put it in A because a lot of potential. It could be fan-freaking-tastic. I just feel that in reality, people just don't really write that. They just don't. References to addictions. And then references to drugs, references to trauma. These three I feel like could very easily... I don't have any like preference towards any of these. It's just more so just how they're used and what their purpose is in the story. So I guess it's just straight into the what context category. Is what context? These three depend too heavily on the context of other tags and whatnot to really determine, for me at least, whether they should go on the like tier list or not proper. But they individually, I don't think, can be really placed anywhere outside of like the context. Reincarnation, that's kind of like past the life stuff, which we already discussed. Although I guess reincarnation can be a little different from past life, because you can be reincarnated. I guess reincarnation can technically be in the same like setting, if that makes sense. If it's like, I don't know, if you're taking a setting that has like hundreds of years of history and you're taking a character that was existing like a couple hundred years prior to like the main story, but it's important because of some reason, right? Maybe they were connected to some immortal person or something, I don't know, right? And then they come back, or maybe it's the main character, I don't know, something. Reincarnation is iffy. It's iffy. So once again, kinda depends on the context. It's like it's also one of those tags that this kind of relies too much on the context. But by itself, if we're saying like they were reincarnated into just a later time, it's either going to be bland or you have to pull something out of your ass to make this interesting, in my opinion. So, C, because it's possible, right? But because most of the time I feel like it's much too similar to Past to Life, but without that previous like connection, I guess, being more present, and the lack of, I feel like reincarnation has less of a romance implication than Past Life does. So, yeah, I'll leave it at C. Because, like, would you call something like, what was that show called? The one with Subaru. I forget what that's called. But, would you call, like, dying and then coming back, like, reincarnation? Like, I don't know. I guess there's also, like, that question of, like, what is classified as reincarnation in this Re:Zero. That's the one. Yeah, Re:Zero. Like, would that be classified as reincarnation? Because you're technically coming back to life over and over again. You're just not coming back to life as somebody different. There's also that question. So, like I said, it's either you're gonna have to pull something out of your ass, or it's gonna be just kind of boring. At least boring without the person having any connections as anybody else. Rejection. I'm somebody. This is gonna be kind of weird. I want people to write more unrequited love stories. I need somebody to write these things, and nobody wants to. These are fucking impossible to find. Because usually when you find one, like, I need one that's just, guy is sad. That's all I need. Like, please. Just one. Just a crumb. Just a crumb of it. I beg of thee. But no. Rejection, I feel like, would be pretty good. I feel like you can make a good story with it. Because, that's something a lot of people face, but nobody wants to write about it. Decent. I'll put it in B, just because it can be good. But it can also just be, very... it's kind of can be used as a lead way into, like, friends to lovers kind of things, which I'm not really into. Like, oh, person 1 is attracted to person A. Person A doesn't like them, rejects them. Person 1 then goes to person 2, and then person 2 and person 1 fall in love. And, like, I'm like, too happy. I need depression. I need suffering, sorrow, a little. I'm not saying go full on NTR territory type of stuff, but I'm just saying, like, give me a story where a guy is sad, I need to relate somehow. Religious themes. I've never seen it been done right, is the way I'll put it. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll have to ask Sub about this, to lend me Jesus and Judas Enemies to Lovers fanfic. That is foul. Foul, okay? But, like I said, sometimes the issues with religious themes is that people will make it something so boring. Essentially just because when people use religious themes, it'll essentially just be, most likely, Christianity bad. And here's metaphors of Christianity being bad, or like the kinds of metaphors that, people use of the church, which, like, listen, my opinions on that, it's like, if you think that about any religion, that's fine, I don't care. Like, it's not I have no dog in this fight, but it's so, like, they don't do anything interesting with the whole religious themes. It's always, like, a negative thing, and never like a, like, never. What's the word I'm trying to use? How do I word this? It's never complex. It's never like religious, I guess, themes as a integral part of the story where like you have the character having actual like maybe it's just doubt, maybe they think, maybe they are religious and it's like, this and that. I don't know, like there's never a positive spin. It's always just, give me a saint who's wrestling with their sexual desires, who falls in love with a doctor saving people. That's good. That right there, right? That's decent. Like, as long as it isn't just like something that came out of like some goth girl's journal, like this can be good. It can be good. It can even be positive, right? But most of the time I feel like it's far too negative. It's always just people in this category bad. And that's it. And it's like, come on. So I'll place it in like A or upper B. It'll be an upper B. You feel like there's much better, more subtle ways to criticize and question organized religion? There probably is. Especially considering that, no matter what you think of them, they are objectively, religious organizations tend to be one of the most humanitarian systems in human like history. So there's also that to put into account, where it's like, you can think what you want of them, you can't say they don't help people, because they do all the damn time. And the fact that they do it better than, most organizations and or governments is kind of, maybe it shouldn't be surprising, but it's definitely a feat that should be recognized. Like, there's a reason these religions grew as big as they did, right? Resurrection. Resurrection. This one's kind of interesting. Okay, so this is more Ray Zero-ish, but because with Resurrection, if you do a story where the resurrection has consequences, whether it's like you just keep coming back to life as like some kind of superpower, or it's something that happens in the story, as long as there's consequences to it, that makes it good, I think. Like, there has to be a consequence to doing something that you're technically, is the Bible a resurrection fanfic? No, I don't think it is. It involves it. There was once a amateur poet that said that the Bible was an answer to Cain's question, "Who am I, my brother's keeper?" And the Bible's answer is basically, yes, you are your brother's keeper. Which I found interesting, because I never thought about it that way before. I feel like Resurrection can be good. It can be a pretty good thing to put in your fic. I wouldn't put it just A tier on its own, but definitely like with other things, if it's some kind of fantasy story or just like a place with superpowers and whatnot, could be pretty damn good if done right. Rivals to friends to lovers. This is just enemies to lovers. Except maybe like more chill, I guess, technically speaking, because, you're not at each other's throats. You might be at each other's throats, like, academically or something. To me, it's like, it's whatever. So where the hell did I put enemies to lovers? Did I put it up here? Was it in B tier? I don't remember where I put this, because I want to put it like right next to it, because it's basically the same thing. D? It's in D. Yeah, enemies to... Yeah, to me it's like the same thing. Enemies to friends to lovers is basically the same thing as rivals to lovers, except the context is changed a little bit. Road trip or vacation? I mean, that's a setting. Okay, so let's take it from like the setting perspective, right? Clearly, it can be fun. This is like slice of life. That's the term. It's slice of life. I like slice of life every now and again. I dabble in it. Not in terms of writing, just in terms of consumption. I've yet to write anything because if my ass got around to writing anything, it'd be this big ass AU with so many things changed, and I'd have no idea how to actually write that in a way that would make sense in my story. But that's neither here nor there. Well, maybe I'll do some stream where I'm just trying to at least storyboard a fanfic someday. That would be fun. So that I can get these fucking ideas out of my head. Just put them down on paper and just leave them there. Road trip, vacation. I like slice of life sometimes, so upper B tier. Because, sometimes you just want to see people have fun. You want to see them do stupid things, having a good time, enjoying life. Because if you're not enjoying life, well, what are you doing, I guess? Satire? I don't think I've ever read a fic that's done satire. Like, that it's satirical. Satire is just difficult to do, and I don't think it can be done in fan fiction, weirdly enough. I think it'd be just too difficult. Like, unless you were, like, a writer that's been writing for a good long while now, and you're making a satirical fanfiction on some aspect of fanfictions, maybe it'd be good then. Like, maybe you could come out with something pretty alright. But I feel like in general, this is just not a thing people touch, so I'll just leave it in what context. Second chances. Similar to Redemption Arc. I have a similar feeling about this to Redemption Arcs. Although obviously this is more so... It can be romantic. Doesn't inherently have to be, right? Redemption Arc isn't inherently, I think, in any way, shape, or form romantic, but can involve some amount of romance. Second chances, I feel like, have more of a romantic connotation to it. It's aight, I guess. It's aight. Same thing, like, same logic as Redemption Arc, where if done correctly, can be done well, but this is more, I would say this is even more slice of life-ish, like, I'll put it in lower B. Lower B. Secret Admirer. Secret Admirer can be cute. I'll just put that in B. Just middle B. Because it's neither here nor there for me. It's just like, it can be cute, but it's very simple. And I would personally kind of enjoy it. Secret relationship. Kind of similar to Forbidden Love, I guess. Let me look at where... Forbidden Romance, right? Different in the context, right? Because Forbidden Romance is more so like just unacceptable for a myriad of reasons in terms of like in the story, right? It could be like, oh, the hero and the villain like each other, but obviously they're not supposed to because one's a damn criminal and the other's supposed to save the world. Whereas a secret relationship could be, I don't know, one person might be a part of a family that would look down on their relationship with whoever the hell who's quote-unquote of a lower status or something like that. I think it relies on context too, but I'm not going to put it there. I think just on the concept alone of like two people hiding a relationship for a myriad of reasons and or people, it could be pretty good. So upper B. Maybe lower A even. I'll just put it like upper B because I think the more show nature of it in comparison to forbidden romance allows it to be more of a thing that is more to my tastes, I suppose. Self-deprecation relies on the context. Self-destruction relies on the context. Self-insert. This is also one of those you love it or you hate it, like the whole original character thing, right? A lot of them are done by people who are amateur writers, so a lot of them are bad. Plainly put, the ones that are good are rare, but they do exist. I've seen them, I've read them. So what would I put it as? I think same place as I would put original characters, where they can be pretty damn good. You just have to know how to write, essentially. If you know how to write, right? Because there is no difference between a self-insert and an original character when you think about it. The only difference is one has more descriptions about themselves than the other, and that's really the whole difference right there. Like, plain and simple. One has more descriptions about their features than the other, and the other is meant for you to put yourself in their shoes, which means that they might be bland, but that always isn't the case. That always isn't the case. So, both have great potential because they both are just, at the end of the day, an OC. Just one is with a label and features and the other is not. Or I guess some OCs are self-inserts, right? So there's also that. But I'm thinking self-insert in the sense of like, traditional, this is going to be kind of a funny metaphor, but the hentai pro tag, like that guy. That's a self-insert, technically. Self-cessed. Oh boy, where will Jolly Boy decide to place that at? Oh, his hand's gonna slip. His hand's slipping. Oh goodness. Oh. Okay, maybe we'll have a little bit of discussion about this particular thing. I think it depends. It depends on what we're talking about. Is it just straight up you have a clone of yourself 100%? Because listen, I think if it's like, boom, lady version of yourself, shaboing it, that can be a pretty, to me, reading that, I'm like, that's kind of hot. I don't know why. So don't ask me anything. I do not question my machinations, okay? The machinations of my mind are an enigma, and I'd rather leave it like that for now. Sexual tension. Sexual tension is like 50-50. Sometimes it's done right, other times it's just like dumb and stupid. So I'll leave it at B. Middle B, because it can be done good, it can be done bad, pretty damn easily. Sibling rivalry. I've never read anything that has sibling rivalry, so I would not know what to put this in. Context, please provide. Sig Fig. Not a fan of them. Just straight up. They're boring. There's no purpose for it, other than just fluff, which you can do in other ways that are more, in my opinion, worth reading than just, a person is sick, what shall we do? Single parent? Single parent can fall into many things in terms of what kind of story you're telling, because it's similar to like adoptive parents, which I think is up here somewhere. But I think that's more so accidental adoption than it is that. But I think a lot of the times, accidental adoption and single parent get slapped together, in a sense, in fanfiction at least, where it's like, character finds random kid, or kid from the series, earlier at some point than they're supposed to, and boom, now they're a dad, or they're a mom. And it's like, It could be alright. Could be fun. I don't know. It really depends on the kind of story you're trying to tell. So, I'll put it on C. I'll put it on C. Alright. Middle of C. Size difference. Size difference. That's just simple preference. Like, what do you want to read, you know? I think, very basic. Sometimes it's just very difficult to outdo your own biology in this department. I think I can be pretty good. It's not my 100% would always read type of thing. But it depends. Sometimes you want to read about, there being a size difference. Sometimes the size difference is like the opposite way, right? Because most of the time by size difference, they mean like, larger man, smaller woman. But sometimes, there is a larger woman and a smaller man. And I think both are pretty damn good. Slice of life. We like slice of life. As long as it's not boring. Slice of life, like I said, can be good, but it better not be the whole fic, because sometimes people drag it along. You cannot drag fanfics along, and I think that's technically just a problem with every fanfiction. That's not like a one chapter thing. It's just they don't know when to stop. Slow burn. And this is a slippery slope that we basically just covered like a couple sentences ago. People don't know when to stop, and I would categorize slow burns to be part of that reason, because people will just categorize their their stuff as slow burn, despite it, just being them continuing the story for no real reason. At least in my opinion, like some arcs that people write, just keep going. Like, you could have stopped this much ago, and you're not doing it because it's quote unquote slow burn. Slow burn is very hard to do correctly, which is part of the reason I don't even touch it, because a lot of times I don't want to spend like 40,000 words deep into a story or something, and it's like finally realizing that this has been just a drag and nothing's been happening. Because I feel like one of the things people forget about slow burns is that things need to happen. They're just happening slowly, and you're kind of mulling over it, and kind of feeling the consequences of this and that and all of that jazz. But people don't do that. People just make it kind of like a thing happen, and then nothing happens for a long time, and then something happens, and then nothing happens for a long time. And that's just not how you do that. So, just because most of the time it's not good, slow burn. Like, I hold very little hope for slow burn stories. Even if they do have a lot of potential if done correctly. It's just, me personally, it's like, bro, this stuff is not getting out of the trenches, okay? This stuff is gonna be there in that category of could have been good forever. Snuff, which is just, how do you describe it? It's a gore, basically, right? It's like gore porn. Not my thing. Stalker, kinda my thing. Stockholm Syndrome, C tier. Middle of C. Strangers to Lovers, didn't we just do something that was strangers to... No, we did Lovers to Strangers. Strangers to Lovers. Strangers to Lovers, huh? Okay. Strangers to Lovers. could be good, but I feel like it's similar to Love at First Sight. Oh, jeez, the jump scare. Thank you for the follow, Saint. Oh, goodness gracious. Just jump scared me there, bro. I think I have it maybe a tad bit loud, but there's a reason for that. It's because when I play games, it's got to be loud or I'm not going to hear it. Whew. My poor little heart. So, strangers to lovers. Oh, by the way, I should probably say this before I forget. If you put exclamation Discord, you should be able to get the Discord link if you want to join the Discord. Up to you. Strangers to lovers. Where did I put that other one? I think I'll put it next to, because I think it can have potential, but at the same time, it's like, I'll put it right here, right below. Just because it can kind of pop off if people decide to actually make it pop off. If they don't, then it's not going to. Simple as that. Suicidal themes. What context? Just because, you know, like, it's pretty straightforward. What context are ya having these suicidal themes in? Like, what's going on in the story and why is it going on? What and why? Like, if you can't do that, then you probably shouldn't have that in your story. Terminal illness. Kind of goes into a D category because you already have the context with terminal illness. It's, to me, the chances of it being written right or having a story, it's like angst, sure, and I like angst, but it's not gonna be something that you're gonna overall, like, I don't know, if it's the main thing, then it's just, I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea. How much more do we have to go through? We might be able to speedrun this, maybe. The Chosen One. In fanfiction territory, I don't know if this is a good trope. I'll put it in C because there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Just in the, the viewpoint of fanfiction, it's like, man, I don't know if that's really gonna work. Therapy? What's the context? Blank sum. Blank sum? Oh. I understand. I understand now. I'm so confused. It can be good. It can be good. Any kind of sum can be good. So, there we go. Upper B. Time loops. Hell nah. Tooth rotting fluff. Too much. A little bit is enough. Torture. Provide context, right? As simple as that. Toxic. Provide context. Transgender character. I personally don't ever see it being necessarily, like, when it's used in fanfiction, it's never an important thing. So I'll put it in D purely because it's never actually important to the character. They'll just say that the character's transgender now, and that's it. It's similar to the everyone is gay thing, where it's like, it's just kind of like there for the sake of being there, and if that's your thing, if you just want that to be the case, then that's fine. But, like, for me, it's like, if there's no reason for it, most of the time I'm not gonna like it. Trapped in a room, and I'm not a fan of that either. Underage, give me more context. Unhealthy coping mechanisms, it can be kind of cool, like interesting is what I meant to say, not cool. It can be interesting, but most of the time I don't think people really have a focus on it. unrequited love if only people would write more of it without it, like, without it just going back to happy, happy. Like, the whole point of unrequited love is that things are sad now, right? It's a story about love that never came to be, but people can't write that. Unrequited pining. I'm not. I don't remember what this is. Unresolved matters. Never read the story with that. Unresolved sexual tension. I don't really have a care for that either way, so C. Violent thoughts. Violent thoughts. It really is like a. I don't know what to think about violent thoughts. It just depends. It depends. It's a context thing. It's like on its own, it doesn't really mean much, but as a trope, as like a along with other things, it just depends on the story too much. It just depends far too much on the story. You can have a lot of different stories that have violent thoughts in them, and it just, you need a little more than that. Voyeurism. I don't really care either way, so C tier. Wump. I guess this is also a C tier. Man, soon enough, C tier's gonna maybe compete with B tier at this rate. I absolutely abhor this alpha, beta, omega, AU stuff. Actor AUs are on the upper echelons of I don't like them. Like, I like that if it's like a little comic thing, right? I've seen little like fan art comic type stuff where it's like all of the characters, like, for example, I saw like an Attack on Titan one where it's like the, little Eren, like kid Eren, and like, teen Eren, and then like grown Eren, like all of them being different actors, quote unquote. And I feel like that's fun because it's just the idea of like, these are just normal people who are making a movie or a show, right? And sometimes you do see these kind of interactions between actors, and that's like, it's just like a wholesome, sweet type of thing. But if that's as a fanfic, as something you read, I don't think that's like, it's like, it's whatever. It's like, it's not a thing I want in fanfiction. It doesn't really make sense for a fanfiction. Maybe it's like a one shot of like, oh, look at all these characters, and what would they be like as actual peoples if they were just acting this way for a movie. Adventure AU. This is, I guess, the AU territory. Adventures AU. This is basically just like fantasy, right? What if X thing was a fantasy thing? It's okay. I'll put it in the middle of B because it can be fun, but at the same time, it just depends on the story. Angel and Demon AU. Kind of boring as hell. Animals AU. Goofy as hell. So I'll put it in C because I don't dislike it, but it's just like, it's comedy, right? It's like middle of C. It's like, or upper C maybe. Maybe put it in the upper C. Because I don't have really any inherent thing. This is more so fun as like a fan art thing. Something to see rather than something to read. Apocalypse AU. You never see these done right. Like, it's just like something that people are just not used to writing stuff in that setting. Artist AU. I don't give a fuck about that. So, lower C. Assassin AU. I don't really care about that either. Band AU. That's like, I don't like that. Behind the scenes, which is just, movie actors AU. I think the behind the scenes is more what I was. I think actor AU is more like, okay, I understand now. Okay, actors AU is the same character, but if they were an actor, and then behind the scenes is the whole, oh, the characters you see are completely different personality from the people that they are, like, they are, at least in this sense, right? This is the, oh, they're making a movie, they're making a TV show type of thing. This is just the character is an actor. This is the character is a character within this world, within that AU, right? And then you're maybe meeting the actors, the here and there and whatnot, and how they actually are, and their thoughts on their characters and their characters' relations with other characters and whatnot, or the characters or the actors' quote unquote relation with other actors. Bodyguard AU, lower B because it can be okay, it can be all right. Coffee shop, I can be either way about that. Middle C. It's like a 50-50. It's like meh. College AUs. Don't like college AUs in general, just because they're just a lot of nothing. They're kind of like slice of life, but with the caveat of like just college drama, which isn't often like the thing I'm into when reading a story. Cowboy AU, don't give a damn. So lower C. Detective AU, I also don't give a damn about these, so lower C. Escort AU, basically bodyguard AU, but sex. Fairy tale, middle C. Family AU, don't care, so lower C. Isn't this just okay? Some of them are very similar, but they have small differences. Is what I'm gaining, understanding. There we go. What I'm understanding. Folklore AU. It's kind of the same thing as this, right? Let's put this in the middle. Furry AU. I don't care. I mean, it sounds maybe fun. I want to see the designs, actually. The designs would be kind of cool to see if they're doing it with like pictures and stuff or drawings. Hanahaki disease, the whole you know get lung disease of flowers if you don't get your love reciprocated. I've tried to like these before. I'll put them in middle C, or actually upper C. I've tried to get into that because I was like, okay, this can be like good angst material, right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's, for me, most of the time a flop. High school AU, I don't give a damn. Host club AU, I don't give a damn. Idol, don't give a damn. Isekai? That's kind of like... This can mean a lot of different things. Needs context. Because it could be like a self-insert, it could be an OC, it can be the character themselves getting tossed into somewhere else. Or they are kids. I don't give a damn about that. Mafia AU, if they actually have like interesting stuff happening, sure. I'll put it ahead of Bodyguard AU. Magic AU. I don't really care either way. So, right here. Magic Girl. That just sounds funny as hell. Might be interesting. Upper C. Marvel AU. Nah, that doesn't really. Medical AU. Don't really care about that. Mermaid AU. I kind of dislike the Mermaid AU stuff, but it's not the worst around. Modern setting. This is something I have like a hate love relationship with. Most of the time I hate it. Sometimes it's like, okay, like if the character dynamics are good, it hinges on that because you're taking away what makes those characters cool or special from their world and then just putting them in like contemporary modern day without all of that. And even if they do hold their powers for whatever reason, right? It kind of doesn't make sense in the context of the modern day anyways. So, it's like kind of a flop a lot of times. Orphanage, I don't care about these, so C. Royalty, same thing. Don't really care. C. Soulmates goes to C. Streamer, YouTuber, AU. That's just dumb. Tattoo parlor. I don't think I'd like that either, so D. Teacher, AU. Nah. Could be okay. C. Vampire, AU. These are going to be put in lower C. Vampire, werewolf, and writer, AU. It's like, sure, have it if you like it, but I don't really care all that much for it either way. Abrupt ending? I think I would hate that. Ambiguous open ending if the story's good. This has a good potential, right? It's like it can be done right, but I don't think... I think people might overdo the whole ambiguous ending a little much. They don't actually... I think this is gonna sound so pretentious, but I don't think they understand what makes an ambiguous ending ambiguous. Bad ending, I'm gonna put in B because I like my ex and stuff, and there's rarely those around. Bittersweet ending, I actually really enjoy bittersweet stuff. Happy ending, it really depends. I'll put it in lower B because it really depends. It really depends on the story itself. Hopeful ending. This can apply to so many things, so needs context. Resolved ending depends, needs context. Sad ending. That's alright, sad endings are okay. And then unexpected endings. I don't really know where to put this outside of the what context, because that too is something that needs a lot of context with it. Well, here's my tropes, ladies and gents, and those of the in-between. Take a gander, take a look. Judge or do not. I care very little. Now I have to be on my merry way, for I must consume nutrition and take a great deal of care for myself, and also figure out just why the hell my thing makes my GPU go a little fucking crazy. So pretend I'm the fish, as always. From now on, I am fish. I hope you, my dear kindred, have a great rest of your mornings, afternoons, evenings, and nights, wherever you are. May the gods bless you, and may the stars shine in your honor. I shall see you all probably tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.